Broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios at Santander Stadium. This is York's local sports show. Talking local sports on York's local sports station. Welcome to Game Day with GameTimePA on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Yo, Petty Feinberg here. Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WYK. Thank you, Brandon. I'm joined by Brandon Stoneberg. Brandon and I are typically in tandem here unless we are out and about on a particular day, which is pretty much on Thursdays. We're usually here. Zach Miller not here with us. John Buffone not here with us. We got to get Christian Arnold here, our new writer at GameTimePA. He's got to come on board for sure. But right now, for this week at least, for this Thursday, for this 2-hour block, 4 to 6 on the live stream, 6 to 8 on WOYK. It is Teddy. It is Brandon bringing you the latest and greatest on YAIA Sports. Brandon, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. Yeah, we got to get our guy Christian Arnold in here and kind of introduce him to the people. He's a Long Island guy. We got to kind of introduce him to the York area.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. We've been breaking him in, but I'll tell you right now, you're not really fully broken in until you get a tough initiation on this program. And,
for sure.
Yeah, and he definitely needs to come on board. What's going on with you, man? How are things been?
Things are good. We're kind of putting our all-star list together now. Some seasons are wrapping up. Golf wrapped up, tennis wrapped up.
Unbelievable. Time flies.
Yeah, time does fly. I feel like yesterday we were just talking about the season coming up.
It's almost week 10 of football.
Yeah, fall season always I think flies by the fastest. I mean, it really just it's over like that because there's so many sports. You really trying to keep up with everything at once, and then all of a sudden it's over.
And it probably. What if from a reporter standpoint? Or from my position as the assistant sports editor, I believe it's the busiest season of the year.
Oh yeah, plus they pack 9 sports and they pack it into a 2-month span. Most sports started the first week of September and some of them are already over. So pretty much a month and a half, 2 months, and your sports season's done. Basketball season, winter season is a little bit easier because there's only 3 or 4 sports. Swimming, basketball, wrestling.
Probably the most low key one. Spring's madness too.
Spring is madness. Spring can kind of not drag, but it kind of stretches out a little bit.
Drag's the wrong word.
Yeah, drag's the wrong word. It starts in February, March, and then still some games are still going on in almost May. So
yeah, that's crazy. You also in the fall, you're obviously dealing with football, and it just that sport has just gotten. It's bigger than it's ever been before, so you do have that animal to deal with too. But it's been a great year. There's been a lot of great performances. We're going to go over all of them today. We're going to touch base, obviously, on football. All the other sports, Brandon alluded to it. There's postseason play that's getting hot and heavy right now. Football, I believe it's entering, is it week 9 of the season?
Week 9, yeah. We just wrapped up week 8 last week.
So the regular season is hitting its stretch drive as well. We're going to have postseason chatter there in a few weeks also, so there's a lot to get into. Speaking of standout performances, let's touch on our game balls this week. Brandon, who did you pick and why?
I've got a few. The first one, I was at the volleyball tournament, DeLone Catholic Volleyball. We keep calling them a machine. They're a well-oiled, efficient machine.
They're a machine.
They don't lose.
Yeah, they don't lose.
They rotate pieces in there year after year, and no matter how good a senior class graduates, no matter who graduates, who leaves, Coach Lepo, he's just genius.
They don't rebuild, they reload.
No, yeah, they reload and they do it fast. They come right back out and they pump out 20 in 2 seasons over and over and over and over again. So a pretty stellar performance again for them in the league tournament. They swept through, cruised through without any issue. Didn't give up a game. 4 straight league tournaments, a 4-peat for the Squarettes. And they're on the districts. And Lepo kind of joked afterward. He kind of took his medal off really fast. And I said, Coach, I've never seen you keep that medal on for very long. And he says, well, we got bigger goals here. So, they look for the district medal, the state medal. They want those medals more. He said, when the season's over, they'll look back and reflect on the 4-peat and say that was pretty cool. But right now, they want the district gold. They want the state gold.
You can't have anything but respect for that. Yeah. To be honest with you, for them, like I said, they shoot their goals high, they aim high, and what's that old saying? If you shoot for the stars, you might not hit the stars, but you might hit the moon instead. And there's nothing wrong with that. So
they've hit the stars 4 years in a row now, at least in the league. So no one's really been able to catch up to them. So a big a game ball goes to them. Staying in DeLone, their backfield for football last week. Zach Hart and Tavian Dorsey combined 28 carries for...
That was an unbelievable performance.
Yeah, 28 carries for 340, it looks like. My math might not be good, and 5 touchdowns, 5 tutties between
believe
them.
It or not, I actually have their numbers right here. If you give me a second. We're looking at Well, I mean, period, point blank. Hart had 14 totes, $185 on the ground, 2 tutties. Dorsey, 14 carries, $155 on the ground, 2 tutties as well. Yeah. And the team, by the way, Brandon says tutties, so I'm putting that in my vocabulary. And the team, I want to say, ran for 450.
Yeah, they had their way in the ground attack, and they were playing Fairfield. That's what it was.
Yeah. So they rolled deep.
That's their bread and butter. DeLone's bread and butter is that wing tee. They like to run the ball, and when they get it going.
Dorsey's a great player.
He's hard to catch in the open field. He's got that track background. He's a track athlete, track star. He's hard to catch.
Got that Jarvis Landry thing going on. Yeah. Great with the ball in his hands.
Great with the ball. Just give him some open space and just watch him make a move.
No question.
Kick returner, solid player as well. Last one I have for you, Mailman, Colin Mailman. We give it to him all the time in Suburban. He's 3 catches away from the school record. We talked a lot about Suburban. We talked about that breaking records, Merkel breaking the passing record.
They throw the rock.
And, give credit where credit is due. We're going to keep talking about them if they keep doing good things, So Mailman is 3 catches away from tying the school's all-time record. So they could have the all-time passing and all-time catches record in the same season between Mailman and Merkel. Mailman put up 4 catches for $161 and 3 tutties last week against Dover. I was there. It was a shootout. It was a crazy TCU Baylor-type game. But Mailman was a big part of it. Every time he touched the ball, he seemed to make a play. So
it was your classic Mountain West Conference game. A lot of points scored. Suburban literally. I don't know if they've picked up the ground attack at all. It seems like that remains inconsistent. But in terms of just straight throwing the football, airing it out, I don't think anybody in our area does it better.
Oh no one does it better. Their playbook. I mean, with Brian Marshall, the offensive coordinator, his son Matt Marshall is the all-time leader in passing. So he's kind of got that mindset, kind of like the Ryans in the NFL with defense. The Marshalls have the passing thing, but he's got a great system for him, and he gets the ball. I mean, they have 2 great receivers in Brad Smith and Colin Mailman. They have a great backfield with DeJour Henderson and Teague Hoffman. They got Merkel tossing around. They put up 450 yards on Dover and put up 55 points. We'll talk about that game more later, but no one was really expecting that to be a shootout. I mean, Dover usually holds their opponents to pretty low. And
we'll get into it later. They obviously were very undermanned, which didn't help. There were a lot of big plays in the game, although I will say Suburban's clearly in the driver's seat for D2.
Yep, all they have to do is win this week, and that's all theirs for the first time since I had it. I think it's like the early 80s was the last time they won a division title, or late 80s. So definitely a big shout out to them. So DeLone volleyball, DeLone backfield, and Colin Mailman have my game balls. Teddy, what about you?
It's funny. We say game balls, and we always give out multiple game balls. You and I. So I actually went Mailman too. I went with a group of wide receivers. Good week for wide receivers.
It was very good.
David Ankney had a great week for Northeastern football. He had, first of all, an incredible catch. I don't know if you saw this grab.
I didn't. I heard about it. I didn't see it.
All right. Well, first of all, David had 3 grabs for $140 and 2 touchdowns, receptions, 1 for 73, 1 for 56. Now, the 56-yard TD, ball thrown up, ball deflected by Spring Grove defensive backs. It's kind of there's 2 Northeastern receivers, Ankney being one of them, and 2 Spring Grove DBs. Ball pops in the air, gets deflected, so it's popping in the air probably around the 15-yard line, or maybe around the 20. It gets deflected backwards, so in other words, it goes toward the 13. It gets deflected toward the goal line. It goes toward the 13-yard line. Ankney had the presence of mind to run, grab the ball with his left hand, one-handed grab, corrals it, races into the end zone for a TD. Honestly, it was the best high school football catch I have seen easily all year. I mean, there's no question about that.
That's a pretty big compliment.
Unbelievable grab, unbelievable TD, unbelievable presence of mind. Again, he had 3 grabs for $140, so a lot of big plays. I mean, that's a ton of yardage per catch. Another guy you mentioned, Mailman, obviously 4 grabs, 161 yards, 3 first-half TDs. He's 3 catches off the record at Suburban for receptions. Jawan McMillian, Dallastown, he has 6 grabs for $127 and 2 TDs. And I definitely don't want to overlook Quentin Nace, Bermudian Springs, touchdown catch with 15 seconds left. It came from Tristan Hoke, backup quarterback, who came in for an injured Chase Dole, who tore his ACL.
Wow.
Hoke came in, led the comeback. They beat York Catholic, hit Nace, 15 seconds left. Berm, 4 straight W's. They're now 4-4 in the year. They started 0-4. They're now 4-4. They beat York Catholic, who's coming on too, 20-17. So those are my football guys. On the female side of things, I just want to give a shout out to Brooke Firestone, great soccer player at Dover. She had the game-winning goal in the YAIA semis. That came in overtime to springboard Dover the championship game. Then in the title game, they did lose 3-2 to Dallastown overtime. No disrespect there whatsoever. Firestone buried 2 more goals in that game. She has been automatic for that team. She's a great player, so I'm going to give her my game ball as well from the female side.
She's definitely a great player, and we were talking about All-Stars today, and she was definitely up there in consideration for one of those top spots. For Bermuda, you mentioned Tristan Hoke. It was cool for him because he started the year as a starting quarterback, and they struggled, and he got kind of benched, and Dahl came in. So for him to come back and make a big play was cool for him.
Totally. And you know what? We always talk about that team and good systems and in good programs, players get better.
Yep.
And he's developed. You know, I also just want to give something, just completely off the top of my head, but Gus Menken, I call him the Menken man. Central York Golf, he's had a great year. He won counties, he won districts, he won regionals. He finished 5th in states. I know it was a disappointing finish for him. He actually had the lead going in the final day, but he had a fantastic year. Great golfer, and he had a great year.
That whole Central roster was stacked. They all had pretty solid years. Going back to the football thing, we talked about big passing numbers, big receiving numbers, big rushing numbers. It was huge offensive numbers all around.
There really were.
Hanover put up 53, Southwestern put up 46, Northern 38, Dallastown 43, Redland 48, Biglerville 41, Conrad Weiser 47, 55 from the Suburban, 51 from DeLone, 42 from Redline. Every game almost had somebody in the 40s, 50s.
Every game had something in the 40s and the 50s. And then our Athlete of the Week, we obviously give these out every week, too. From a football standpoint, he didn't even garner a game ball from us. Again, no disrespect. Chase Carlisle, Kennerdale, they grabbed win number 3, 28 carries, 186 yards, 2 TDs. So he had a big game on the ground.
Yeah, got to meet him after their win over York County Tech. Great kid, and coaches had nothing but great things to say about him. Big leader, apparently, in the locker room.
They're an improved team.
They're a very improved team, and they got they're running with 2 coaches right now, so maybe some other team should try this. But they've got 3 wins now. After
3 wins
after 1 last year, I think 0 the year before that.
3 and 5 on the year.
So nice start for Kennedale, and Susky's there too. So the bottom of Division 2 has gotten a lot better. The top of Division 2, it's kind of the gap has kind of shrunk. You know, the Division 2 was very spread out last year between West York and Kennedale.
It's almost like it's not as top heavy.
Yeah, now it's all kind of condensed.
Yeah,
everyone's kind of right there.
It's not as top heavy, but the weak teams have improved. So there's it's that buzzword in football. There's more parity.
Yep.
Before we go to commercial break, I just want to give a shout to our other game ball winners. I mentioned Carlisle at Kennerdale, Maya Rexroth, Dallastown Soccer. She scored the overtime game winner in the Wildcats 3-2 win over Dover for the YAIAA championship. She also had a big game in their semifinal performance as well. I believe she netted the game winner in that contest. So she got our, again, the at the Varsity Beat blog, York Daily Record Varsity Beat blog, we put our polls together every single Saturday evening. They launch Sunday morning. Fans have an opportunity to vote on the poll. They voted Maya for their Girls Athlete of the Week. Again, Chase Carlisle at Kennerdale for football got the Football Athlete of the Week. And then Igor Gomes, Central York Soccer. He had a first half hat trick that led the Panthers to a 5-1 win over Susquehannock in the YAIAA semifinals last week. So he got voted in as well. We did put some Gettysburg soccer players on that list as well because, of course, Gettysburg went on to win the YAIAA championship, and they remain undefeated with districts here. We're going to come back. We are going to talk high school football. We're going to look back at week number 8 before we look ahead to week number 9. This is Game Day with GameTimePA.
Payne doesn't take Sunday off. Neither do we. We're open weekdays 8 to 8 and weekends 9 to 6. Just walk into WellSpan Urgent Orthopedics, 2319 South George Street in York, across from the Apple Hill Health Campus. Visit wellspan.org/urgent orthopedics today.
It's going to be another epic year in high school football, and Sports Radio 1350 is ready for kickoff. Tune in every Friday night this fall for the high school football game of the week, presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Plus, go to WOYK1350.com for a full breakdown of the teams and the players of the 2015 York Adams League. The high school football game of the week, presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Catch the action every Friday night on Sports Radio 1350, online at WOYK1350.com, or download the WOYK mobile app.
Waking up with the Zabe. The Steve Zabin Show.
Dateline more football. Let's go to Minnesota. Headline: Teddy Bridgewater says Madden helps him learn Vikings playbook. What?
Good God!
You mean John Madden?
The Steve Zabin Show on Yahoo Sports Radio.
Or the video game Madden? Oh, the video game Madden.
There's the old ball coach. He has that list of plays. We're talking about how many plays he has in the list and what the list is. It's just an old list of ball plays.
Yeah. Bridgewater says he has imported the entire Vikings playbook into the video game Madden
and will be using it to get, quote, virtual reps.
That sounds like an Onion story. It can't be real.
But maybe the game is that accurate.
Really?
The Steve Zabin Show.
Mornings at 6 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
The puck drops here.
Wellman, the shot, score!
Sports Radio 1350, your home for Hershey Bears hockey.
Casey Wellman has won it in overtime for Hershey.
And the Washington Capitals.
Here in a shot, they score!
Defending the Den and rocking the red all season. Catch the Bears and the Caps on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hi, I'm Dover football coach Wayne Snellbaker. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Welcome back, folks. Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. I am Teddy Feinberg, joined by Brandon Stoneberg. It's a two-man crew today. The Game Time PA crew bringing you the high school sports roundup, wrap-up, and look ahead from the week that was and the week that will be. We want to look back right now at Week 8 of the high school football season. Of course, Brandon, you were at the York Suburban Dover football game. Now, this was an interesting game because it was a big game. Both teams entered with 3-0 district records. So there was that. It was clearly the marquee game in my estimation last week, locally on the YAIA. Teams get out there. Dover's clearly undermanned. Word gets out, and it was reported on YDR.com and GameTimePA that Dover had a handful of players. They partied after homecoming. They are now suspended for the season. I believe there were 6 players total. Some key players obviously involved. I know their great linebacker Derek Brenneman was mentioned. So they lost some very good players, and in a key football game they lost to Suburban. Obviously, Suburban put up a ton of points. Dover held their own for about a quarter. There were big plays on both sides of the ball. But what were some of your key takeaways from this particular game? It really put Suburban in the driver's seat for the district title.
Yeah, it allows Suburban to win. The end result is a win for Suburban. It allows them to control their own destiny. So one more win, and they win the division for the first time since 1989. It's a huge deal for them.
It's a huge deal.
They kind of have, not to be mean to Suburban, to kind of quell this a little bit, but they kind of had a short window. They have Mailman, Smith, Henderson, Merkel. That class right there.
They're in their prime.
You're in your prime. You have a window. You have to win now.
I completely agree.
So this is their year. Maybe next year starts kind of a rebuilding year, but right now this is your window to win, and they're taking advantage of it. So to start in this game, we got out there and we're looking at Dover's roster, and there's 40 kids on the roster. And we look across we see in warm-ups, it's me, the dispatch guy, and the radio guys. We see the warm-ups, and it looks like barely a JV team's fielded out there. And we said, where's the rest of the squad? So we're counting.
Fairly obvious.
We're counting guys, and we counted I think 24 during warm-ups. There might have been more later on because I think Coach said only 6 were suspended, maybe some injuries or something like that. But we counted 24 during the game. So obviously that's almost half the team's gone. So very short staffed Dover team. Big players were missing. The Derek Brennemans, Brett Moans, those guys were gone. Joey Zettel was gone. These guys are big playmakers for them. So obviously we're coming in right off the bat. They're already kind of undermanned. They kind of threw out their system. Dover normally run, and at times Dover hasn't thrown for 500 yards in the season. They came out, chucking the ball down the field. 310 passing yards. This game combined had 900 yards of offense. It was insane.
That's insane.
Dover ended up turning the ball over 6 times, which was kind of their downfall. But it came out first quarter, Mailman 53-yard pass. With a minute and a half into the game, Mailman 53-yard pass. A couple plays later, Durant led better on the other side, 56-yard touchdown pass. Right back on the other side, Mailman 24-yard touchdown pass. Then Dover threw a 59-yard touchdown pass. Then Henderson with a 72-yard run. Then Mailman with a 44-yard run. And then a 44-yard run. It was huge. None of these things were like little 3-yard goal line plays.
Definitely not.
These were all huge plays. At one point in the first and second quarter, there were 6 touchdowns in a 6-minute span. It was we were having trouble keeping up with this one. And then even the coaches and players joked that they kind of felt like they were in like a TCU, Baylor, Big 12 shootout there in the beginning. But anyway, so 6 turnovers for Dover really hurt them. they're not used to throwing the ball. They did it well at times, 310 passing yards, but they also threw 3 interceptions. They fumbled the ball 3 times. So they gave up, it was 21-14 at the end of the first quarter, Suburban, and then Suburban put up 28 in the second quarter, and Dover didn't score. So it was a running clock the rest of the way. Hats off to Dover, though. They played to the very, very last minute. I mean, they scored as time expired in the game. They were still trying to play, and then they scored to make it 55-27. But end result is Suburban's offense, just doesn't look like, we thought Dover's defense, if anyone, could probably, at least slow them down. But, Suburban put up 460 yards on them. So they just they're clicking on all cylinders right now. They one more win, they win the division. Dover, on the other hand, they have to play West York this week, still undermanned, obviously. What happens to them? Do they fall out of the district rankings? Kind of 2 teams going in opposite directions after that one.
I've said this throughout the year, and you, frankly, would know better than me, but from my vantage point, Suburban's gotten better every single week, offensively, most definitely.
They keep getting better, and they went from Merkel and Mailman to Merkel, Mailman, and Smith to Merkel, Mailman, Smith, and Henderson, and then now you throw T. Kaufman. They just keep building confidence to keep building players, and now, there was 4 different guys on the team who ran for at least 50 yards.
I was going to say, beginning of the year, remember that they were locked in on Mailman, and that was the big thing. I remember you coming back from a game one night, or maybe it was just after 1 week, where you were going over stats, whatever you were doing one night in the office, and you said, hey, look, they need to get a more balanced approach. First of all, they're just throwing the Mailman, and they're not running the ball. Well, they've done that. Coach Andy Lauck's done a nice job there, man. Andy
Lauck and offensive coordinator Marshall, they've done a great job there. And they spread you out. They spread the entire field. They'll run 4 or 5 wide receivers sometimes, and then they'll chuck around the field with some routes. And if you play back in a zone type defense, they'll hand it off to Henderson and let him pick up 7-8 yards. So their offensive system is pretty hard to stop.
Yeah, it's kind of like pick your poison. And a good team, they can adjust, and they don't necessarily even have like you said, they can attack a team multiple ways, and they can adjust to what the other team's doing. So they're locked in. Now, their final 2 opponents of the year, you mentioned this, I believe, in your capsules. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
They have Gettysburg and Eastern left, and they've also done this to good defenses. They've beaten Spring Grove, Dover, and West York, which are all one of the 3 of the best defenses in the league right now.
They're clearly going to be favored in both of those games.
Yes, they'll clearly be favored. They should. On paper, they should win out, which would put them on
exactly.
They start off 0-2, which would put them on an 8-game winning streak heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, they're clearly they're hot. They're playing well. I think Division II is slightly down. In fairness, West York clearly isn't what they once were. But hey, you know what? It's like we always say with Hanover: you can only play who's on your schedule. And you know what? I'm going to pass our former show host Steve Navaroli talking to him at the beginning of the year, week 1, week 2. I said, hey, who do you like in D2? And he goes, I like Suburban. And, ever since he said that, I jumped on that train. And they've been playing really good football. They're throwing the ball. They're scoring points. And, they're doing their thing. We're going to move on. Northeastern Spring Grove. Zach Miller was at this game, and he's not here right now. But, this was interesting because it's one of those things. We always do the pretender-contender thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I believe Northeastern and Spring Grove are often brought up in pretender-contender.
Right.
And Northeastern's always had the feel of a contender this year. And Spring Grove has always kind of had the feel of a little bit of a pretender.
Yeah, only because their schedule, they hadn't beaten anybody good. So Zach picked Spring Grove in this one. He said this is their chance to beat somebody good. This is their moment.
Zach's not here.
Zach,
I hope you're listening.
Spring Grove got shut out 30-0. And Northeastern's defense just suffocates teams. They held Spring Grove to 80, 90 total yards, and that's not the first time they've done that. They've really locked down some good offensive teams.
They got a nice team.
They have a nice team all around. Yeah.
They do. They can run. They can throw. They got receivers. They got backs. They got a D.
It must be something about orange and black this year because Northeastern, Suburban, and Hanover are 3 of the best teams, all rocking the orange and black.
That's the key. With Halloween approaching, the orange and black is the key color coordination.
They looked really solid in this one. They picked up a huge win, and they're staying. The key thing is to stay within 1 game of Dow-Town because Dow-Town could slip up. Could slip up to Redline.
No question, Dallastown could do. Dallastown, they're undefeated. That doesn't mean they're unbeatable. Redline's got a heck of a team. Redline's good, and Redline's going to give them a hard time, particularly if Redline's starting quarterbacks in there. Yeah. And I think Northeastern they remain in the hunt. I don't think there's a shot over down.
They remain in the hunt, and they're still pushing in that AAA district category. They're still one of the top 5 teams up there right now, and they get Southwestern this week, which would be a huge win for them district-wise to go up and play a good Quad A school, and beat them.
This will be a huge game.
Yeah, that's got to be the game of the week this week.
We are live streaming it, folks. GameTimePA.com. You can catch our live streams every single week. We are live streaming. Like Brandon said, Northeastern at Southwestern. It's actually a 7:30 start, but that's on paper. That is a huge football game for both teams.
Yeah, both teams really need that one. Northeastern, like I said, a win over a Quad A school heading into districts will be huge. Southwestern trying to stay within reach of Dallastown in the division and trying to build their district resume too. They're trying to host a game right now. They're kind of on the other side. They'd be going on the road right now in the district playoffs.
Big game there for sure. We'll move on here. We're going to talk about some of the other results, some games that caught our attention. Red Lion 42, Central 7. That didn't catch my attention. DeLone 51, Fairfield 28. Again, that didn't really catch my attention. This game did. Scrap iron game. Kennerdale, Eastern New York. Kennerdale 18, Eastern New York 14. Just because Kennerdale picks up win number 3. And it's consecutive W's for them, too.
Yeah, the first time they've had a win streak in years, and you mentioned Division II kind of being down. Maybe a win over West York or Dover doesn't look as good as it normally does, but a win over Kennerdale or Susky doesn't look as bad as it normally does because they're pretty solid squads now. There's no easy win left in that division.
I completely agree with you. Those two teams are much improved this season. No question about that.
That's huge for them. And I've seen some pictures. I haven't been down there yet, but Matt Hamilton, our freelancer, and has put in some video and pictures up. They have a really good student section down there. It looks like
he's basically our Kennerdale beat writer. He's been all over that team like white on rice. Yeah. And they got a new stadium too, or at least they got lights in their stadium.
Lights in their stadium, yeah. So they got
making moves.
They're making moves. It's good to see because that program's been down for a while.
Conrad Weiser, tough year for Gettysburg, 47-0 over Gettysburg. Biglerville 41, Littlestown 14. Biglerville, big game this weekend against Hanover.
Yeah, Biglerville. They had a hiccup against York Catholic, which kind of put them, kind of crippled them for the division race. But they still need a big win over Hanover for district ratings because right now Biglerville's on the bubble for districts. And at the beginning of the season, they were talking about hosting a playoff game. Now they're trying to get in.
Well, and let's be honest here. It's just also big when I don't care who you are. I don't care what team you are, what program you are. Hanover's got an undefeated record. Biglerville, you know what? They've had a good year. They're at home. It's clearly their biggest game of the year, and they're going to be fired up for it. So, it's going to be really interesting. I'm definitely have my eye on that one for sure. I think it's going to be a very good football game. Redland broke out the offense again. They won 48-16. Any of these other contests catch your eye, Brandon?
I think Redland's offense, finding themselves
they've been kind of up and down.
Yeah, they for a while there they went into a really big drought. Playing Mechanicsburg can kind of solve that because Mechanicsburg's defense is so bad.
That's a nice cure.
Yeah, that helped. I think DeLone needed to get back on track. So a nice confidence boosting 51-point performance is big for them. Like
Never
you say, Kennerdale is huge. Gettysburg just can't score this year. It's a rebuilding year for those guys. And Redland's just been angry. I mean, they're just blowing teams out after they had that back-to-back loss to Northeastern and Southwestern when they kind of felt like they kind of had they kind of got not screwed out of games, but if circumstances have been different, maybe those results would be different. But they've been angry since then, just blowing teams out. So they pick up another one. They have the highest scoring offense in the league right now.
We're talking about the Lions.
I
hate to butcher this, but I believe their quarterback did not play in those two losses.
He played the first part of the Northeastern game, and they were winning, and then he got thrown out, and they lost. And then he had to miss the next game, which was against Southwestern, and they lost.
Well, Jesse Shea, their head coach, indicated last week that and obviously the starting quarterback is going to be huge for a team's success. But you look at certain players, and if they bring a certain tenacity or grittiness or leadership to the position, it can mean that much more. So not having him may have been key to that team. I think they're a very good football team.
They're a very good football team. I think they can give Dallastown a really next week. That's a huge game for them. And I believe it's in Red Lion, too, which is huge.
It's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
The rest from Dallastown 43, New Oxford 13. Dallastown remains undefeated. They're 8-0 going into this weekend's game. Northern having a great year. I believe they only have one loss. They top Greencastle.
And that's a huge win. Greencastle's a really good team.
And they had no problem with them. 38-14, at least on paper, it didn't look tough. Southwestern, no surprise here, 46-0 over York High, or as we call them, William Penn. West York 34, Susky 31. I'll tell you, this game stands out because it's exactly what Brandon said. West York might be a little down. Susquehannock much improved under Steve Wiles. I believe they have 3 or 4 W's this year, at least 3. Much more competitive this year. And, of course, we mentioned it, Bermudian, they get their 4th straight win, last-second touchdown pass to top York Catholic, 20-17. 2 solid D3 programs there. Hanover 53, York County Tech 16. It was a mismatch on paper. It was a mismatch on the field. It'll be interesting to see how Hanover does when they visit Biglerville. Brandon, any more thoughts?
For the Hanover-York County Tech game was tied in the third quarter. That was a pretty close one, and Hanover just exploded late. It's
crazy.
The game I was at, people were kind of like, whoa, what happened to Hanover? Is that the night they fall? And they eventually exploded. Burn, a huge win. They need wins like that in kind of a rebuilding year. A young team, they have a come from behind win, last second touchdown type stuff. That's big for them. And West York, they've been in these close games all season, and they've been on the short end of all of them. So for them to break through and get over the hump was, I think, can't be understated.
Yeah, I think any win for them under Coach Jones is big. And, hey, they're 3-5 this year. They're 3-1. They're not out of the division race per se. So, of course, they did lose to Suburban a couple weeks ago, which does hurt their chances.
And their fans right now like to say, I've seen on social media, that they say they're a missed field goal away from being first in the division because
it's not inaccurate.
They led Suburban for all but 1 second of that game. And if Atkinson for Suburban misses that field goal, we're talking about West York controlling their own destiny for the division.
It's not an inaccurate statement, but it's also not inaccurate to say that Suburban won the football game. Sorry, guys. We're going to go to commercial break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk YAIAA football week 9. It's coming at you next. Game Day with Game Time PA.
7-1 Northeastern has a 3 seed in the District 3 AAA bracket as the Bobcats head to the Corral to face 6-2 Southwestern, currently the 9 seed in the District Quad A bracket, on the high school football game of the week presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. I'm Ron Rubin. Gareth Hissong and I will have the action as both teams battle to stay alive in the Division 1 race, where each has lost only to Dallastown. It should be a dandy Friday at 7 on GameTimePA.com and Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill, and don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY, and don't forget to ask about our $100 rebate. Shipley Energy. Energy for life.
Previously on the York Revolution pregame show.
Everett George is our interview guest. Everett was signed up. Was it the whole homestand?
Yeah, the whole homestand.
And which was how many games?
7 games.
And you lasted in your role how many games?
1 game.
Have you been fired anywhere before?
Never. Post-game meal came down, and it was pulled pork and beans. I said, well, where's the buns? Where's the soda? Where's the water? And the coleslaw didn't come down till after everything was out. But I know what I can do. I can make a meal better with pulled pork, with beans. That's the reason I got fired, because I asked too many questions, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Well, they did me a favor. I don't have to. I can have 6 days off.
Revs Baseball on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Hi, this is Wayne McCullough. Join me every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. for Central PA Game Day, right here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Join us as we celebrate the best of local sports with your teams and your student athletes. Interviews with players and coaches and the high school scoreboard show every Saturday morning. Central PA Game Day, Saturdays at 9 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hi, I'm York Suburban football coach Andy Laux. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Welcome back, Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Teddy Feinberg, Brandon Stoneberg in the house. We are going to preview Week 9 of the YAIAA football season right here, right now. And we are going to start out with, frankly, what I think is a big football game here. Hanover is undefeated. They are 8-0. They're traveling to Biglerville. The Canners have had a very underrated season. They have one loss in division. I believe they have 3 losses total, 5-3 record, if I am not mistaken. I think this is clearly, I'm speaking off the cuff here, but on paper to me it looks like it's Hanover's toughest game this year. It's on the road. It's against a confident team. It's against a winning team. And they're not going to be able, you're not sneaking up on anyone now. You know what I mean? Biglerville is going to be hungry for this game. And, yeah, I rolled the dice and took Biglerville. Keep in mind, we have 8 people picking. Maybe it's 7, maybe it's 6, whatever. But I'll tell you right now, I am in dead last. But I have pulled off some shocking wins this year, too. I have rolled the dice on a few games. I've picked some winners. I'm hoping this week is no different. I took Biglerville to win. Brandon, what are you thinking?
I went the opposite way. I went Hanover. And if it was in Hanover, I would say Hanover by 10 to 15. I think in Biglerville, maybe in that 5 to 7 range, maybe.
Home field's huge.
Yeah. Here's what Zach's seen these teams a few more times than I have. So this is what we were talking about earlier is the knock on Hanover is that they've played teams with a combined 17-47 record, which is not impressive.
That's not impressive.
But you play the schedule in front of you, and in D3 this year, Biglerville hasn't played anybody either. You know, their record's exactly the same basically, and their out of conference was a little bit stronger, but they lost those games. So your claim to fame is you lost close to a good team, which doesn't, this isn't the NCAA tournament. Your resume doesn't get any better by losing close.
Right.
So I think Hanover just has. On offense, I think they have too many weapons for Biglerville's defense. I think between Loftman and Earhart and Williams and Kerr and Kraut, I think that offense just has there's just too many. Maybe you stop 1 or 2 of them, but you're not going to stop that whole offense. I think Biglerville's defense really hasn't impressed me yet. All that much. I mean, the York Catholic one I thought was really bad. Losing to York Catholic was pretty rough. Losing it to the beginning of the season, I can make excuses for you, but losing to York Catholic in the middle of the season, I thought was bad for them. I haven't been impressed with Biglerville as much. I think Hanover, I think they win this one, and I think that sets up a huge cross Hanover. That DeLone Hanover rivalry, if you haven't been in that area, is a nasty one. It's a public school versus a private school. They were separated by 2 miles. They can't stand each other. I mean, it's a lot of fun. During basketball season, the student sections get into it and wave SAT scores at each other and fun stuff like that. But it's been a fun football rivalry, but it's been very one sided, and I think that'll set up nicely for a fun Week 10 one. But Hanover has to get through this one first, and we've been talking that their biggest hurdle is kind of taking this one game at a time. Can they keep knocking, chugging away and not letting, not slipping up at all? And they've done that. They kind of struggled in the first half against York County Tech last week, but they haven't really slowed down. They haven't had any hiccups. They haven't,
Oh, they had a great year.
They've had a great year. I mean, they haven't had any where they came out and said, "Oh, we're the better team. We're going to sleepwalk through this one."
I remember being on this radio show before Week 1, and I mean, you've had your finger on the pulse of this team, and you're like, "Hey, this could be a 500 season," and we're like, "Wow!" I mean, the fact that they're 8-0, forget about it. They've had a great season. Yeah. I take nothing away from them. And as we say time and again, you play who's on your schedule. That's all they can control. They've been winning football games. I do think this will be an interesting test. We'll see how it shakes out. When these two teams meet again. Hanover at Biglerville, 7 p.m. start tomorrow evening.
I'm sure that place will be rocking. From what we've heard, Biglerville's had a good student section this year.
They're gonna be ready.
They're gonna be ready to go. That's gonna be a fired up crowd. 7 o'clock in Biglerville. We've had some people ask us, what time and place that is. So there's gonna be people showing up. It's gonna be a packed crowd.
Bermudian Springs at Littlestown. Berm has won 4 straight games. They are currently sitting at 4. So they started 0-4. They're now 4-4. They're 4-1 in the YAIAA. Traditionally a very good program. Littlestown's had a really tough season. 1-7 overall. They do have a win under their belt. They've played in spurts. It feels like Littlestown's had a good half or a good 3 quarters here and there, and they've put one complete game together. Then again, it would be foolish to pick against Bermudian at this point. They're red hot, and Littlestown's clearly kind of in a rebuilding phase.
Yeah, our guy Steve Neverelli did a good story today about how Bermudian's flipped things around. They started off 0-4. They've won 4 in a row, and they're not out of the division race. I mean, Hanover with a win can clinch, but they have 2 pretty decent opponents coming up. So if Hanover somehow slips up and loses those 2, Bermudian sneaks back in and wins the division still after starting 0-4 is nuts. But even for them to be in this position, I think Coach DeVoe has to be pretty happy. They're kind of on the bubble right now for district playoffs. They're not out of it just yet. They need to string some wins together here, and I think they get this one for sure. losing Chase Stahl, they're one of their best playmakers. Even as a freshman, is one of their best playmakers. So losing him is a huge blow. But I think their offense can still play well. Littlestown's had one of the worst 3 defenses in the league the entire season. They've been bottom 3 in every category all season. They can't seem to stop anyone. So I'm expecting Ashton West and that Bermudian offense to have a pretty good game, especially on the run game. And Bermudian's defense has been top 10 this year, so I think they kind of shut it down. I can see this one being like a 31-10 type Bermudian win.
Don't disagree with you there at all. Dallastown at Central York. Again, it's funny how the year works out. Central York won week 1, 31-28 at West York. I'm sitting in the office saying, wow, what a win. I mean, that's just impressive to go on the road week 1. Well, guess what? It was week 1. Both teams are, fairly down this year, and Central is really, they've taken their fair share of lickings. They do have 2 W's this year. Dallastown's had a great year, though. 8-0 on the year, 5-0. They have a complete team. It seems like every week they're getting steady play from the QB. There are solid contributors at other areas of the offense. Their line's always blocking. They got the run game down. They got the receivers, and their defense has been locked down. They could have the best defense in the area. Again, it would be foolish as a picker not to pick Dallastown.
Yeah, I like Dallas on this one, which hurts to say as a Central alum, but actually that loss for West York is looking worse and worse as the season goes on. The more Central struggles, the more losing to them at home kind of looks bad for West York. But anyway, in this one, the Wildcats continue to get more balance. So we kind of talked about them the same way we talked about Suburban, where they need more balance, and they've been working on that. And they've gotten better after weeks of watching K Gold kind of carry the offense. They got 432 total yards last week and strong performances across the board. They got a ton of guys stepping up now.
I believe they had a freshman running back, or at least a running back who plays very seldom. And the last thing I want to do is mispronounce the young man's name. I'm going to pronounce it Iwan Marshall.
That's West York. He plays for West York.
I apologize. I'm thinking Jawan McMillian of Dallastown, the wide receiver, had a big game. Continue, Brandon.
He's had a good one. On the other side, Central has to stop getting. Central's dug themselves into deep holes the last few weeks. You can't start the game down 21-0, 28-0, 14-0. So Central needs to get off to a fast start. They'll be at home. Maybe that helps a little bit. I believe this is their senior night. So maybe some magic's in the air, but I'm going Dallastown.
Yeah, and everyone did, I believe. I mean, I didn't look, but if anyone picked Central, they would really need to get their head examined. Eastern York at Pine Grove. Eastern York, they've had an interesting year. I have to think some of the injuries. They had some injuries early in the year at running back. A defensive-minded team, a team that relies on the ground, a team that is young and still building and kind of was on the up and up. I have to think some of their marquee runners going down early in the year hurt them. But they started the year off 2-0, and they're 3-5 now, and they're coming off a tough loss to Cannondale last weekend.
Yeah, they've lost 5 of 6, and none of them. They haven't been getting blown out in some of these games. They've been close losses, like an 18-14 one last week. I mean, their defense keeps them in the game, and it's just their offense that can't seem to get over the hump. They did get Keegan Corwell back, I believe, last week I saw, which if he comes back and is healthy, that's pretty solid for them. Might be a little too late, but still nice to see him and make it back. But 3 of their 5 losses have come by 7 points or fewer for Eastern, which is not, so they're only a couple plays away from the record being a lot different.
And they battled Hanover earlier in the year.
They did battle Hanover early.
And if Corwell's back, we can
They
talk.
lost by 1 to Dover.
I mean, so we can talk all day about, hey, maybe it's too little too late, but it's never too late to pick up some W's, and this Pine Grove team, at least on paper, was not a good football team, so hopefully Eastern go in there and
Pine Grove has barely scored all year. Their only win was against Northern Lebanon after the fact. Northern Lebanon had to retroactively forfeit that game, so that's the only one Pine Grove's been rewarded. So they haven't won one on the field yet.
Yeah, they're not having a good year. Everyone took Easter in our pool here.
Yeah.
So, we will move on now. Fairfield at York Catholic. York Catholic has improved as the year has gone on, and Fairfield, again, 1-7, 0-5 in division. Catholic's 3-5, 3-2 in division, so they've improved since they've gotten into there, and one would think they're heavily favored in this one as well.
Yeah, I stuck with them at home, and every time I seem to pick them, they lose an upset to Bermudian.
They're driving you nuts.
Yeah, and then when I pick against them, they pull off an upset against Biglerville. So whatever I do pretty much happens the opposite. So maybe Fairfield sneaks in and wins this one.
That'd be kind of classic if Fairfield got a W. I'd really like to see them get one more. I don't know if it's coming this week.
I don't know about this week. The York Catholic has to finish. They led 10-0 last week, then they gave up 20 second-half points to Bermudian. Put your foot on their throat and finish them off. On the other side, Fairfield's defense has been among the worst. They gave up 452 rushing yards, like we talked about earlier, to DeLone Catholic. York Catholic is Jakar Kennard. Maybe York Catholic puts up some big numbers. Yoke can run from the quarterback position, so I think York Catholic runs Last year's score was 42-19. I can see this year's being maybe 35-19, 35-20, 35-15,
something along those lines.
10, something like that.
If Fairfield can put up 20-plus points, that would be a nice game for them, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Northern York at Lower Dolphin. Trying to see who I picked in this football game. I also took Lower Dolphin. You took Northern York.
Everyone but me took Lower Dolphin. I just tweeted at them, and they said they got to prove the rest of you guys wrong. But they've been riding high. I mean, Lower Dolphin.
They've had a great year.
Lower Dolphin won this one 60-0 last year, but this is two completely different teams.
I completely agree.
So this might actually be the best game we have, but it's in the Mid-Penn. It's not a York Adams game, but in a York County team, this might be the best game we have.
It's a great game, and again, Northern one loss, first-year head coach doing a heck of a job over there, making moves. Their team is much improved. And we'll see how they do. It'll be interesting to see if they can give them a hard time on the road. Redland at Bishop McDevitt. Again, I'm looking at it here. Everyone took McDevitt. Redland's been up and down. There's some weeks I look at them and I'm like, this team is coming out like gangbusters. And there's some weeks I look at them and I say, man, they didn't do a whole lot of anything.
Yeah, Redland, I mean, they had a good week last week against Mechanicsburg, so I don't know how much you can really take that into account. They're playing at McDevitt. McDevitt's one of the best teams in our district, if not the best team. This one could get away. Really, they got to hope that Bishop McDevitt gets caught looking ahead to Lower Dolphin next week and maybe make this a trap game. And just have a strong quarter. If you let Bishop McDevitt get off to a fast start, the game's going to get away from you hurry, and this one's going to turn into a big blowout.
I agree.
So if you can hang around, do that classic underdog, hang around for 3 quarters and try and surprise them in the fourth quarter, maybe you sneak away with one. But I see McDevitt winning this one big.
Again, we're going to come back for the final segment of the first hour of our show. We're going to 6 p.m. We're going to run through the rest of the games, but we have one more game to take care of here before we go to commercial break. Spring Grove at Red Lion. Tough to pick against Red Lion in this game. Spring Grove, again, they have 3 W's this year. Maybe they even, I apologize if I got that wrong. They're actually 4-4, 3-2 in divisional play. They do have a better record than last season. Red Lion 5-3, 3-2. So on paper, the records are close, but I feel like subconsciously, mentally, I feel like Red Lion's farther ahead than them, and I took Red Lion.
Yeah, I see Red Lion and Northeastern kind of on the same page, and Northeastern beat Spring Grove by 30 last week. So I think there's a big drop off between the top 4 and bottom 4 of the division. Spring Grove, like you said, they've won more games than last year. They're technically right now in the district playoffs if it starts today, but they have Red Lion and Southwestern left to go, so pretty tough schedule. I think winning and getting to 500 would be a big accomplishment for first-year head coach, but Red Lion's just playing angry right now. Their offense is on fire, and this one's in Red Lion at Horn Field. I don't see Red Lion losing this one.
No, I don't either. Spring Grove, keeps it close. That would be a great step forward, and the reality is they are having, a 4-4 record is nothing to sneeze at, but took Red Lion all the way. It looks like all 6 of our competitors took Red Lion to win that football game. You can check out our high school football picks, all our quote-unquote expert picks, on GameTimePA.com. You can come back in segment 4 of our 2-hour program. We're taking it up to 6 p.m. on our live stream, 6 to 8 on WOYK 1350 later this evening. But we're going to preview the rest of the Week 9 YAIA football games on Game Day with Game Time PA.
Payne doesn't take Sunday off. Neither do we. We're open weekdays 8 to 8 and weekends 9 to 6. Just walk into WellSpan Urgent Orthopedics, 2319 South George Street in York, across from the Apple Hill Health Campus. Visit wellspan.org/urgent orthopedics today.
It's going to be another epic year in high school football, and Sports Radio 1350 is ready for kickoff. Tune in every Friday night this fall for the high school football game of the week, presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Plus, go to WOYK1350.com for a full breakdown of the teams and the players of the 2015 York Adams League. The high school football game of the week, presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Catch the action every Friday night on Sports Radio 1350, online at WOYK1350.com, or download the WOYK mobile app.
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK honors the Shipley Energy Student Athlete of the Week.
This week's Shipley Energy Football Student Athlete of the Week is Chase Carlisle from Kennardale. The running back rumbled for 186 yards on 28 carries while scoring 2 touchdowns as the Rams won their second straight contest. This week's Shipley Energy Girls Student Athlete of the Week is Mia Rexroth from Dallastown Soccer. She scored the overtime game winner in the Wildcats' 3-2 win over Dover Dover on Tuesday, then cashed in another goal in the team's 3-2 championship game victory over Dover on Thursday. And this week's Shipley Energy Boys Student Athlete of the Week is Gus Minkin from Central York Golf. Minkin's 69 won Monday's regional tournament at Oaks Golf Club. Minkin is 3 for 3 with gold medals. He has won 3 gold medals over the last 3 weeks.
Get your home ready for fall and winter and sign up for the Shipley Energy Protection Plan. For more information, visit ShipleyEnergy.com.
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
Do it for me. Do it for America.
Rich Eisen.
Looks like Mark Sanchez, this is his team now. And he dropped a 50-yard dime on Jeremy Macklin in his first pass attempt. And Jason Peters says he didn't know it was Sanchez back there. He didn't know that Foles went out. He turns around to celebrate with his quarterback and give him an attaboy. And it's Sanchez.
The Rich Eisen Show.
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hi, this is John Shapansky, head coach of Northeastern Bobcats. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Wow. Welcome back.
I'm so happy right now.
Brandon, you care to kind of just pass some credit along here?
Yeah, right. Our guy, our producer right now, put right before the show, put in some Drake Hotline Bling as our little intro music there, and I loved it. That was awesome. I was dancing. I hope they got that on the live
No,
stream.
they did. The volume is off during the commercial breaks, but the visual is clear.
Somebody's got to go back and crop that and make a video of that. I got to see that. That was I'm feeling good now.
We put our best of Game Day with GameTimePA this year. We are going to definitely rehash that moment. Thank you. Ray's been on fire from a musical standpoint. And you know what? Honestly, he's been great. I mean, since the day he walked in this door. Huge Mets fan. Needless to say, it's a big week for him. So we support it. We support you, Ray. Let's move on. Thank you, Ray. Let's move on. We are talking high school football Week 9 preview. We ran through a slate of games in Segment 3. We are running through a slate of games in Segment 4, and we are going to take it from the top. Susquehannock at Kennerdale. We have talked about these two teams, two improved teams, folks. Kennerdale's 3 W's. They've won 2 straight. They're running with 2, as Brandon said, 2 co-head coaches right now, which is a little bit different. But hey,
form, I guess.
I was going to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Hey.
Yeah. Susquehannock, on the other hand, hey, you know what? They're looking at a 3-win football team. They had a competitive loss to West York last week. They had a competitive loss to Northeastern earlier this season. So Steve Wiles is doing things over there as the head coach of that program. So I expect actually to see, this is an intriguing football game to me.
This is. And last year we were looking at this game at 2 winless teams, saying this is the only chance they have to get 1 win. And now look at it. They're both 3-5. Both got 2 wins in the division.
I believe that's what happened last year. I think Kennerdale beat them 10-9.
I think Susky won 10-9.
That may have been it.
Susky won 10-9, and that was Susky's only win this season. That was Kennerdale's biggest chance. So that was it.
Crazy.
I expect a pretty close one in this one.
I do too. Both teams are. They're 2 teams that are a little. Got that confidence and they're hungry.
And it'll be good to see. So one of these 2 teams are going to walk out here with 4 wins guaranteed, which is awesome for these 2 programs.
It is cool.
One of these, these guys needed it. Really, Susquehannock, what you need to do, listen closely, slow down that guy, Chase Carlisle. He is absolutely dominating the league right now. He just ran for $186 last week and 2 tutties. He's up to the top 3 in the league in rushing right now. Slow him down, and you got Kennerdale figured out. Kennerdale, stop turning the ball over. I mean, you coughed it up 4 times last week in a win. You can't keep doing this. I believe Kennerdale has the 2nd or 3rd most turnovers in the league right now. So you got to hold on to the ball a little bit better, hand the ball to Chase Carlisle, and let your offense make some plays.
No question. Just kind of running down the games here. Wow, no one took Kennerdale in this game out of our 6-man crew. That's not necessarily a bad thing for the listeners out there. We're far from perfect. But yeah, I expect to see a very good game. I expect to see a competitive game, and I give both these teams a lot of credit because they're improving every single week.
Yes.
West York at Dover. West York, kind of a start and stop season. I think they've gotten better since divisional play has kicked off. Dover's been very inconsistent this year, and the lows might be kind of coming here with the player suspensions. As we mentioned before, homecoming party, 6 players suspended for last weekend's game and their big loss to Suburban. And it doesn't look like they're going to be back the rest of the season. So, tough to pick. Under those circumstances, West York's kind of getting the Eagles at a vulnerable time. Tough to pick against West York.
Yeah, I like West York. I like that they finally got over the hump against Husky. They finally won the close game that they've had so much trouble with this year. This is a backyard brawl. I mean, these 2 schools can't stand each other. It's one of the best rivalries we have in the area. It's in Dover, which I think kind of gives Dover some help, but I'm still sticking. I'll be at this game. I'll be in Dover, but I'm going West York, which is not going to be very fan friendly. But I'm riding with the Bulldogs in this one. I think that they're. We keep picking the Bulldogs despite the record, and I'm going with them again. Dover, though, why not air it out a little bit more? You guys never really passed the ball, and all of a sudden last week you threw over 310 yards. So maybe give it in the quarterback's hand and see what he can do. But West York don't give up the big play. Dover threw a deep last week, scored plays of 56 and 59 in the first quarter. So West York's got to be wary of that.
No question. We will move on now. I apologize. I kind of got away from my screen here. We are looking at William Penn at New Oxford. William Penn winless. We really want to see them get a W. But is it going to come this week? They have a chance this week. New Oxford obviously is also a program in transition, but I went with the home team.
Yeah, I went with New Oxford, and this one last year we were kind of looking the same way. Like New Oxford didn't have a win. William Penn only had 2 wins at that point. Traditionally, New Oxford does not play William Penn well. I don't know what it is, but William Penn has really dominated New Oxford in the past. I still got to go New Oxford here. They haven't looked great lately, but William Penn has looked probably even worse.
Yeah, they haven't been competitive at all.
This has been pretty bad.
New Oxford won week 1 of Bermudian. They haven't gotten a win since.
Yeah, and
last second field goal.
And we talked about them. We thought at this point they might be winless. Before the season started, we said maybe these 2 teams are winless coming into this one, but New Oxford at least got theirs out of the way. It'd be cool to see William Penn win.
You want to see each team get a W.
You don't want to see anyone go winless.
Absolutely. I cannot stand that. William Penn just has, they don't have enough depth or numbers, and that's going to really hurt them. I have to think they have athletes on both sides of the ball to a certain degree, but depth is hurting them. These 2 teams come in with a combined 1-15 record. So we will see if William Penn can get off the schneid again. New Oxford hasn't won since week 1 either. Glad they got theirs out of the way, early this season because it would have been tough if both these teams had donuts in the loss column. York County Tech at DeLone Catholic. York County Tech has 2 wins this year, but I don't see them getting win number 3 this week. DeLone's a tough place to play. DeLone is an improving team. They won big last week. They found their ground game. I expect them to continue to run the ball well this weekend.
Yeah, Tech is a scrappy bunch. They've proven that this year. They haven't really, they haven't let teams really blow them out too much. Maybe in the fourth quarter they let some slip away. But this is a much better York County Tech team. They're kind of like a Susky or Kennerdale down in Division III. They're doing better than they normally do. DeLone's trying to get back to 500 in division play, and they're trying to stay in that district playoff hunt. If they get back to 500, maybe they have a chance. They have to knock off York County Tech and Hanover to do that. But keep putting the ball in Dorsey and Hart's hands and see what happens. They both ran for $150 last week, so why not? I think they win this week at home, and then like I said, I think that sets up a huge game against Hanover because maybe Hanover's still going for an undefeated season. Maybe DeLone's going for a district playoff spot. So DeLone, take care of business this week. Don't sleepwalk through it. Don't come out like you have in some games and start off down 14-0 or 10-0.
No, don't do that.
Get off to a good start and put this team away and get ready for Hanover.
Suburban at Gettysburg. We've been through it before. Suburban has been as hot as a pistol the last 5 weeks or so. Gettysburg has been pretty much cold throughout the year. They lost big last weekend. Offensively, Brandon, you alluded to it. They are in a major scoring slump. Again, the Suburban's favored in this game. They have the division title in their sights, and I expect them to win this football game.
After what they did to Dover last week, I expect this one to be a running clock in the second half. I expect the Suburban starters to be on the bench by the second half. The biggest things that will come out of this one, well, first off, Gettysburg won this one 51-14 last year. I expect that to be reversed this year, if not worse.
I do too.
The biggest things for Suburban, Mailman is 3 catches away from tying the school record, 4 catches away from breaking it for career catches, so that could be a big moment for him. Merkel's only 245 now, 245 yards away now from the county record for career passing yards, which is huge. That mark was set a decade ago.
Huge.
So I don't know if he gets 245 in the first half before they kind of let him ride the bench in the second half, but it could happen. But so 2 possible record-setting performances coming up for Suburban, but I think they win this one in a very, very big blowout.
Very convincing fashion. That's Brandon Stoneberg on the call. Suburban comes in 6-2 on the year. Gettysburg comes in 1-7. Hopefully Gettysburg can keep it competitive, but Suburban's just red hot right now and they're throwing the ball. Northeastern at Southwestern. This is our final game. Definitely last but not least. This is a big football game, all things considered. Northeastern comes in with a 7-1 overall record, 4-1 mark in YAIAA Division II play. Southwestern right there, 6-2 overall, 4-1. I expect this to be a great football game. Again, it's a 7:30 kickoff, and we are live streaming it on GameTimePA.com. Brandon, who you got?
Definitely watch that one on Game Time. Our camera feed has been pretty solid this year. The live stream is pretty nice to watch. I got to see a little bit of it last week. I'm going. I think I was the only one to take Southwestern.
No, you're not. I'm looking at it right now. It's down the middle, and I actually took Southwestern as well.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice. We took Southwestern. It's at the Corral, and I know I did this when they played Dallastown. I said the Corral has that majestic air to it. That teams struggle there. Northeastern hasn't played there well either. So I think Southwestern. And in a toss-up game like this, I usually go with the home team.
Sure.
I think they're very evenly matched. I think Northeastern's defense can really give Southwestern Ty-powered offense, a run for their money.
I'm in the same boat.
I think this is going to be a very close. Late in the game, I can see this one being like a 17-14 kind of game, 20-17 type game coming down the stretch, and we'll see what happens.
I expect a very good game, two very good teams. Talk about Northeastern, good overall football team. Southwestern has a lot of offensive punch in their arsenal. They are at home. And I think Southwestern, I think they're due for a win like this. Yeah. I feel it. I feel like they're due for a W. I didn't like them against Dallastown. I have very high regard for Dallastown. Now that I don't for Northeastern, please don't misinterpret what I'm saying. But I just think that Southwestern on their home field is ready to do this.
Yeah, well, Southwestern went out and got that big win at Horn Field against Red Lion, and then kind of not laid an egg, but struggled coming back the other way against Dallastown. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Southwestern's due for this one. I think they have a lot of weapons. I think their offense, if anyone can really take it to Northeastern's defense.
I agree. Good first hour of the show. We're going to be back for hour number 2, Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
This is a Radio PA News Update. A one-time statewide grand jury judge ousted by Attorney General Kathleen Kane is accusing her or her agents of stealing files from his office in 2013. The allegation came after Kane reported then Senior Judge Barry Fewdale to a judicial ethics agency for what she called a breach of secrecy laws in a separate matter. A Kane spokesman says he would expect Fewdale to back up such a serious allegation with evidence. The House Judiciary Committee is considering legislation aimed at compulsive gamblers. Under current law, problem gamblers can voluntarily be placed on an exclusion list, banning them from casinos, risking a trespassing charge for a violation. Kevin O'Toole, executive director of the PA Gaming Control Board, says the bill under consideration provides individuals with an additional resource in the legal system.
It allows a court, when adjudicating a charge of trespass against a self-excluded individual, to order the person to undergo a problem gambling assessment at a facility recognized by the Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs.
Another hearing this week in Harrisburg focused on the long and complicated process of mortgage foreclosure, as Rachel McDevitt reports.
Mortgage foreclosure for abandoned homes in Pennsylvania can take up to 800 days. Bank representatives are asking for changes to expedite and clarify the process. Michael McKeever with the KML Law Group says even getting a home ready for resale presents a challenge to lenders.
It's a huge issue. Lenders routinely are threatened with or are sued for removing what everyone in this room would agree is a pile of trash.
Attorneys with Community Legal Services warned against a process that would give lenders more authority to declare a property abandoned without a court order, saying it can be especially difficult for low-income homeowners to navigate foreclosure. I'm Rachel McDevitt.
And about 20 members of the group ACT UP gathered outside Governor Tom Wolf's Capitol office, claiming he has done little to help people with HIV and AIDS get treatment, housing, and medical care. I'm David Payne, and you're up to date from Radio PA.
They did it in California, New York, and New Jersey. Across the country, Verizon is forcing customers off their traditional telephone service and onto less reliable and oftentimes more expensive wireless networks. By cutting access to reliable landlines, Verizon has put our schools, businesses, and general safety at risk. To find out more and to tell your legislators to put an end to Verizon's tactics, visit don'thanguponme.com. Paid for by Consumers 2020.
Students, when I call the reason for your absences throughout the years, please exit the auditorium without your high school diploma. Too tired? Family trip? Sick day? Starting the holidays early.
Starting in the 6th grade, students who miss 18 days or more of school in a year for any reason will fall behind and risk not graduating high school. How many days of school has your child missed this year? Absences add up. Keep track at Boost Attendance. Keep track at boostattendance.org.
First in York. First in sports. Your only local sports station. The new Sports Radio 1350. WOYK, York, Pennsylvania.
Airline fire, Ryan Wellwisher. I'm John Trout. A Dynamic Airways 767 caught fire at Fort Lauderdale Airport. Here's audio between the cockpit of the plane and the tower as the plane's engine caught fire.
Okay, hold short, Tango 1, and we'll contact ground. Engines on fire, engines on fire. Engines on fire, we're calling the fire rescue right now.
The Broward County Sheriff's reports 14 people injured. An NTSB team is on the way to investigate. White House spokesman Josh Earnest said President Obama phoned Paul Ryan to congratulate him on becoming Speaker of the House. Earnest reminded those at a press briefing how lawmaking works.
The American people have elected Republicans to be in charge of the Congress and a Democrat to run the White House. And that means for anything to make its way through the legislative process, it's going to have to be bipartisan.
China says it will allow all married couples to have 2 children, signaling the end after 35 years of the unpopular one-child policy. I'm John Trout. CNBC moderators under fire for questions posed at last night's Republican debate.
The questions started negatively with moderator Carl Quintanilla's question about what's your greatest weakness and how will you address it. Then it was about he said, she said in an attempt to get candidates swinging at each other until Ted Cruz.
The questions that have been asked so far in this debate illustrate why the American people don't trust the media.
Things settled down for a bit. Issues like debt, Social Security, and Medicare reform, taxes were discussed. And then a question about if government should step in and regulate gambling and fantasy football, prompting this from Chris Christie.
We have $19 trillion in debt, people out of work. We have ISIS and Al-Qaeda attacking us, and we're talking about fantasy football?
Jim Roop, Boulder, Colorado.
Convicted child molester Jerry Sandusky in court today. The former assistant football coach at Penn State trying to get a new trial. Found guilty in 2012. His lawyer says Sandusky didn't get a fair trial. On Wall Street, the Dow is down 43 points. The NASDAQ off 24. The S&P down 3 points. I'm John Trout.
In big data, there's big opportunity. But how do you use it to get more from your workforce? With Kronos, mine mountains of information into digestible bits of insight. Understand the hidden causes and costs of employee overtime, absenteeism, and low productivity. Get real-time analysis and make fact-based decisions while they can still impact your success. Learn more about workforce analytics at Kronos.com. Kronos, workforce innovation that works.
Today's Porkcast is looking mighty delicious. We'll have some smoky hot pork chops starting at around 5 p.m. with a cool cucumber tomato salad breezing in from the north at about 6. It'll be a beautiful evening in the tri-state area, perfect for grilling. So be sure to pick up some New York pork chops on your way home. For your up-to-the-minute recipe Porkcast, visit porkbeinspired.com/Porkcast. Pork, be inspired. This message funded by America's pork producers.
Hi, this is Jesse Shea, head coach of the Red Lion Lions. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Welcome back to Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. I'm Brandon Sternberg along with Teddy Feinberg, the Berg guys, the Berg boys, whatever Steve Neville used to call us. This is our, actually, speaking of Steve, this is kind of our old Uncle Steve segment, kind of our, we call it the Crazy Cousins. I mean, we can call it whatever we want. This is a segment where we kind of get a chance to talk sports. You know, I'll throw some talking points, some questions your way. We'll discuss it. Some of it will be local. I got a new wrinkle, a national wrinkle in today's. So this should be pretty interesting. Teddy, I'm going to ask you the same question we started the last 3 segments off with. College football playoff system. You have to pick 4 teams from the York Adams right now in football. I know lately you and Zach were both big on Dallastown, Northeastern, Southwestern, Hanover. 3 D1 teams, 1 D3 team. Has that changed at all?
It hasn't, but things could shuffle this weekend because Northeastern and Southwestern are playing.
Okay.
And
so could Suburban jump up into whoever loses that? So if Northeastern loses or Southwestern loses, does Suburban replace one of those guys in our faux pas or?
It's tough not to say so. I mean, they've been playing very good. They've been scoring boatloads of points. They've been throwing the ball extremely effectively. Everything that we ask teams to do, they've been doing. And to not put them in would be, I think, somewhat irresponsible. But I'll also say this, and maybe I'm just biased towards it. I just like Red Lion football. I don't think you can necessarily put them in. Now they have, how many? Let me.
They're 5-3.
They're 5-3.
And they're fourth in Division I. So at that point, you're basically just putting four Division I teams.
That's right. So that's an issue. Yeah, I think personally, I wouldn't feel comfortable not having Suburban in there.
I agree with you. I think Hanover and Doylestown are obviously the locks. So that leaves two spots between Northeastern, Southwestern, and Suburban, in my opinion. I don't know. I would have a hard time making an argument for Suburban over a Northeastern or over a Southwestern right now. So maybe if Southwestern loses and picks up their third loss, then maybe Suburban jumps in. But I mean, Suburban doesn't have any huge wins either. I mean, their best win might be Spring Grove or West York right now.
No, they don't. I mean, it's tough because the YAIAA.
I mean, there's only 1, 2, 3. There's only 7 teams out of 23 with a winning record.
That's what I mean. So, I mean, it's kind of like someone that, we work with a big Miami Dolphins fan, Will Hanley. Yeah. And the Dolphins won, they destroyed the Texans. I mean, you got to feel good about it. He's like, yeah, but the Texans aren't good, the Titans aren't good. But, there's a lot. There's a lot of teams that aren't good. You got to beat those teams. Like I said, I'm not suggesting, I think Division II, I've said it before, I don't see it to be, I think it's clearly not as strong as Division I. Division I feel like I look at the squads and I say, hey, at least from a top 4 standpoint in my mind, those teams are really solid. I feel like I could roll with any of those teams on any given week and feel good about what I'm doing there. I can't necessarily say the same thing about Division II, but I don't want to disrespect Suburban or the job they've done or the job their offense has done. So I think I would put them in there at that point.
And in the college ranks, some people have talked about going to a 6-team playoff, and that would be perfect for this position. Put Suburban and Red Lion in, and that's a great 6 right there.
I agree. I would be totally into that 6, and I feel like
let Doylestown get a bye, or you let 2 teams get a bye, and let the other 4 rock it out.
Yeah, I'm with you. If it was top 6, it would be the perfect match, really.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Speaking of kind of the difference between Hanover and the Doyletowns, we were putting our all-star list together today, and there's sometimes kind of some bias, about being a player at a big school compared to being a player at a small school. Jim Sipe, our utility man, half editor, half reporter in the office, kind of brought this up yesterday. Would as good as Hanover's been this year, would anyone from Hanover really start on a Quad A team? Well, I want to see what your thoughts are, because I have some strong opinions on it.
Well, you know what, and this, my opinion is this. First of all, it would be naive of me to think that the answer is no. There clearly is talent everywhere, and just because you grew up in an area, you play for a team, doesn't mean you couldn't play for another team.
Right.
It's hard for me to talk specifically about this situation because, let's be honest, I really don't see games. I read your stories, I put them on our website, I get them in the newspaper. But could Kyle Kraut play on a D1 football team? Sure. I mean, he's had a great year. I mean, it would be naive to say no.
And I agree with you. That was the argument I made. It doesn't matter that Kyle Kraut or Rashawn Williams or Jordan Loftman grew up in Hanover. I think if they grew up in Doylestown, they'd still be starting. I think Loftman's better than any running back Doylestown has.
I agree.
You can make the argument. You can put Kraut, K Gold's an athlete, maybe put K Gold out as like a halfback, put him in some kind of Chris Cooley type situation and let Kyle Kraut run that offense.
The question, though, also then becomes, I think, and something Jim is alluding to, is we're talking about all-stars. So, would they shine then? Maybe the question isn't could they play, would they shine?
I mean, yeah, maybe, of course, your numbers might go down. Maybe Loftman doesn't have 900 rushing yards at this point if he's playing Red Lion or Northeastern instead of Fairfield or Littlestown.
It's just worth asking that because now we're talking about it. And,
I get that. I think that their numbers would be not as good as they are now, but I think they're definitely good enough to – there's no reason – Kraut can make all the throws, so why wouldn't he start – on a team like Doylestown or Northeastern or Central or somebody up there?
Sure. And again, to say, they have had great years and they're on their teams for a reason, and a good player is a good player, and certainly there's some players on those teams that could play elsewhere.
For sure. And so a lot of times we can kind of run into that when we're doing All-Stars because it's hard. Do you take the kid with 50 goals from Fairfield, or you take the kid with 10 goals, 10 assists from Doylestown? It's kind of it's always a tough toss up between us, and we can never seem to please everyone. So we kind of do what we can.
How'd it go today?
It went better than expected, I think.
Good.
I mean, we knocked out pretty much every sport other than football. We'll wait a little bit longer for football, but we knocked most of the other sports out, and we will fine-tune them a little bit more. But.
You also came from Adams County. You understand.
Yeah.
I think you've seen a wide range of everything, so that's a positive thing in the selection process.
Yeah, and that helps. I mean, last when we had Matt Gould and Steve Navarola here, they hadn't seen too much, Fairfield, Littlestown action. Me and Zach Miller here. Nothing against those guys, but we've seen, the whole spectrum, so we know.
And considering you've worked in both offices, I think that's important.
Yeah. So anyway, that was just kind of that was our soapbox for the day. I want to ask you about these mascots. We brought this up in the office yesterday too. This is something that just kind of grinds my gears a little bit.
Grinds Brandon's gears.
I hate that the York Adams League has the most bland mascots. I mean, how many different variations of a feline can one league have? You have the Bearcats, the Wildcats, the Bobcats, the Panthers. I mean, how many do you really need of just a cat? You know what I mean? I mean, 2 different warriors. We only need 2 different warriors.
No.
A green knight or a gold knight and a green knight. Do we need 2 different color knights?
I don't like it. I think that I don't understand it either.
No.
I don't understand why there isn't more variation and why there isn't more. And even from a uniform standpoint, they're very cookie cutter. A lot of bite-offs from maybe NFL or college programs. My favorite uniform is Red Lion because it's just so much different. At least it's the Red Lion Lions. At least it's different. I'm totally with you. I would like to see more variation in team names, mascots, and uniform construction.
We're on the same page here. I'm looking at it now. It looks like we have 6 different teams with some kind of variation of a cat as a mascot. 2, a gold knight and a green knight, and then 2 warriors. So that's 10 teams. Almost half the league is just cats, knights, warriors. That doesn't seem fun to me.
I want to see definitely a cadets work its way into the fold. I think that would be appropriate. It would be nice to see more. There's a ton of history in this community, and to tie more of that historical aspect into the mascots, I think would really serve the community well.
Agreed, and we specifically pointed out Gettysburg. If you have that rich of a history, I mean, you pride yourself on being the site of a battlefield.
Instead, they're the Warriors, and they have the Kansas City Chief helmet.
Yeah, why not be the Generals, or something? Like the Grants. Give me something Civil War.
You mentioned the Union.
The Union. Why not be something like that? Why be the Warriors? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I'm with you, and it's a little disappointing.
Looking at it, we got the Green Knights, the Bolts, the Spartans, the Squires, the Irish, the Eagles, the Canners. Canners is at least unique to that area. I like Canners because it's. That's Bigelouville.
Colonials is good.
Nighthawks isn't bad. I guess that's a decent variation. Rams, Warriors, Bulldogs, Eagles again, Trojans. I mean, these are just like someone Googled high school team names or kids' team names and just.
It's not very original.
No, they're just very. I wish it's probably too late now to start changing everything, but I wish there was a little bit more.
It's never too late. It's never too late. I'm in agreement with you on this. I think they're a little too bland, and there's also too many duplicates.
Yeah.
So those are things that need to get changed. It would be nice if they did.
Yeah. The Mustangs one isn't bad. I like the Mustangs one's at least a little something different.
It is a little different.
And they have the Mustang Corral. When you do something like that, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, it's not saying I don't want to paint it with a broad brush, but. I'm in agreement with you. 2 knights. It's a little too cookie cutter. A bunch of eagles. Mm-hmm. A little too cookie cutter for me. A couple Trojans.
That's right. We do have 2 eagles. We have 2 eagles. We got 2 warriors, 2 knights,
2 Trojans. York Suburban and York County Tech. Spartans. Spartans. Tech is Spartans. I apologize. Inappropriate.
Oh well. We're gonna move on to our Contender Pretender series now. We do this every week too. We kind of ask, in the big picture of everything, in the big spectrum, are these teams legit?
Let's do it.
First team up right now, Bermudian. They've won 4 in a row. They've put themselves back on the bubble.
I think they are. You know what? I like their program. I respect their program. I like their coach. They've gotten better all year long. I am not going to overlook the history. 5 straight trips to the playoffs. I'm not going to overlook the history and the qualifications of the program.
I like it. Very, very direct to the point. Teddy's on board. Berm. I like Berm this week, and they play Bigerville next week, so that might be a tough one to overcome. I think if they were to win both of those, I think they can sneak into the playoffs. They could take Bigerville's spot if they beat them. So imagine a team to start off 0-4 making the district playoffs.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, Littlestown, they should get a W. Mm-hmm. We'll see how Biglerville does this weekend. But is that game? I'm sorry, where is that game being played?
I believe in Berm.
Okay, well there you go. They are going to be fighting tooth and nail for that spot.
And they could be there. They're right on the bubble. Teddy says they're a contender. We'll see how they do. The other one, here we go, another 500 team, Dover. Dover started off 4-2. They've lost 2 in a row.
Yeah, you know what? I would have said bubble, straight bubble last weekend before we were aware of the suspensions. I think that's a lot to overcome. It's an unnecessary distraction this time of year, and you're also missing out on quality players. It's just a bad recipe there. They're pretender.
Missing quality players. I mean, you were already down. They were already on their third-string quarterback because of injuries, and now, I mean,
it's not a good
now the rest of the roster is kind of, it's wearing thin, and really they just wore down. They had a great first quarter against Suburban, they wore down. You have 24 players trying to play varsity games. It's tough.
Yeah, and you need your talent on the field. I mean, if they are missing good quality players, you can't afford that.
They still do have Duran Ledbetter, one of the best players in the league, on the field.
Oh, he's a game breaker,
and he made his presence known. He had a tough game running the ball. They got some injuries on the line and stuff like that, but as a receiver and returner, he's been everything.
No question.
Kennerdale.
Pretender. I mean, they have 3 wins. I applaud them for the moves they made. They have 2 straight W's. I don't. When I say the moves they made, I don't necessarily mean getting rid of the head coach and the co-head coaches. That's not what I'm alluding to. Actually, when I say the moves they made, I just mean the moves and confidence, getting better as a team, getting some wins under their belt. I have nothing. I love an improved football team, but am I going to put them in contender status? I'm not going to go that far. They still have a ways to go. 3-5 overall, 2-3 in division. But hey, you know what? They have something to cheer about. They have something to rally around. They have something to build off of, and that does mean something. But I'm going pretender here.
I agree with you. Move in the right direction, program-wise. I think you're right. I mean, they sit there with a win. They'll be 4th in division, which is huge for them. But yeah, I think they're still on that pretender list. How about York Catholic?
York Catholic to me.
They're tough to figure out.
Well, if they won, I think I had them as contender last week. And if they won last week, then I'm upping the ante. They kind of fall into the same category as Bermudian Springs to me, however, and this is why. Program history, getting better as the year goes on. I'm not going to disrespect them, and I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment. I think they played some very good teams early in the year. They have played much better in divisional play. And I expect them to get a W this weekend as well. So are they a playoff team? I think the loss last week is certainly going to hurt their chances greatly at that. But I have respect for their team, and I don't want to disrespect them and say pretender here. But are they a contender for a playoff spot? That's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, and really, I mean, their 3 out-of-conference games were really, really tough.
They were brutal.
So if you wipe that out, they're 3-2, and they lost by 3 to Bermudian. So they're a field
on a last-second play,
a last-second play away from being 4-1, in the division and being right there on the doorstep. So I like them. I think they've caught some bad breaks, but they're still in the playoff hunt because they're down there in a single A, so they could still obviously make the district playoffs.
Yeah. I think that basically anytime you have Kennard back there, I mean, he's a straight playmaker. He's a great player. I think their quarterback has also gotten better as the year's gone on. So,
they figured out how to use him. He's running the ball a little bit more now.
Absolutely. They figured out a way to get him better, and I like their team an awful lot. So it's a stretch for me when I see 3-5, 3-2 to say contender, but I don't want to say pretender either because I think that's too harsh.
Do you have your standings up? We're going to go in the quiz section now.
Yeah, I do.
Why don't you just take that off the screen for a second?
Okay, they're down.
There are 4 teams in the league who have not won a division game yet this year. Who are they?
Okay, well, clearly we're talking about, let's just run through William Penn.
William Penn's 1.
They're playing New Oxford this weekend.
New Oxford is 2. That wipes out the 2 Division 1s. Now you got 1 Division 2 and 1 Division 3 team.
Chill, just let me think. Littlestown.
Nope, Littlestown got a win over Fairfield.
It's Fairfield.
And
so then we're talking D2, and when we're talking D2...
team that's really struggling this year. Rebuilding year.
Right. Just give me 2 seconds here. We're talking D2. We have to be talking about Eastern York.
Gettysburg. 4 teams that have not won a division yet this year. Division game this year. William Penn, New Oxford, Gettysburg, Fairfield. What team has the fewest turnovers in the league?
Fewest turnovers in the league? I'm going to give that to Dallastown.
That is Dallastown. There are 2 teams, we're going back to teams that are struggling, that have not even scored 100 points yet this year. In fact, they haven't scored 75 points.
Gettysburg. We know that they're off. They're scoring 3 points. Gettysburg and Eastern York.
William Penn.
I should have known that.
William Penn and Gettysburg.
I just do Eastern York out there blindly.
We're doing this is a different one. This is sports knowledge, and this is a quiz, but this is more national.
Okay.
This is more national quiz stuff.
All right.
Babe Ruth. began his career playing baseball at what position?
Well, I want to say he was a pitcher.
He was a pitcher right off the bat. Look at you. Yeah. First Super Bowl was played between which two teams?
Chiefs, Dolphins.
Chiefs, Packers.
Okay.
Last horse to win a Triple Crown.
One just did it recently.
Did they?
I think so. I thought. Ray, didn't someone win a Triple Crown recently? American Pharaoh.
Going with the ask the audience. American Pharaoh.
Was that recent?
That was last year. Yeah.
Okay.
Before that, it was like a 40-year gap.
Right.
In 1997, Tiger Woods became the youngest player to win a Masters. How old was he?
I'll say 24.
21.
Okay.
The only football coach to ever win a Super Bowl and a Rose Bowl.
Wow. This is intense. Only Pete Carroll.
I thought so, but Dick Vermeil.
Great coach.
Yeah. Last one I got for you. Olympian with the most medals all time.
I don't know that.
Baltimore's own Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps.
From the great city of Baltimore.
From
Baltimore. All right, guys, that's all we have for this segment. We're going to come back. We're going to talk some other sports. We're going to give soccer, golf, all those guys some love. Stick with us. We'll see you in a little bit.
Waking up with the Steve Zabin Show.
When Mike Weir finally won the Masters as a lefty, it had broken like some 70-year stretch or something like that with no lefties winning. But since Mike Weir took the lid off lefties, 6 of the last 12 Masters tournaments have been won by southpaws. Behold, your stats of the day.
Join me, Steve Zabin, mornings at 6 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Pain doesn't take Sunday off. Neither do we. We're open weekdays 8 to 8 and weekends 9 to 6. Just walk into WellSpan Urgent Orthopedics, 2319 South George Street in York, across from the Apple Hill Health Campus. Visit wellspan.org/urgent orthopedics today.
It's going to be another epic year in high school football, and Sports Radio 1350 is ready for kickoff. Tune in every Friday night this fall for the high school football game of the week, presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Plus, go to WOYK1350.com for a full breakdown of the teams and the players of the 2015 York Adams League. The high school football game of the week, presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Catch the action every Friday night on Sports Radio 1350, online at WOYK1350.com, or download the WOYK mobile app. Looking for something cool to do this weekend? Come to the coolest place in town and learn to play hockey or figure skate at the York Ice Arena. The York Ice Arena offers a Learn to Skate program for skaters of all ages and abilities, directed by ISA and USFSA qualified instructors. Skating classes range from beginner to freestyle. Hockey classes cover the basics of the game. All classes include free skate rental and 5 free skating passes, so you can try out your new skills. And remember, the coolest place in town is also available for the coolest birthday party in town. Host your birthday bash in group spaces or with a private ice rental. Public skating at the York Ice Arena is available afternoons, evenings, and weekends. Skate for just $7 and rent your skates for just $3. Plus, you can save with discount pass books. Oh, and ask about gift cards and kids' prepaid debit cards. So if you're looking to learn something cool, come to the coolest place in town and learn to skate at the York Ice Arena. For more information and to register, go to yorkskate.com.
Hi, this is Dave Kemick, head coach of the Eastern York Golden Knights. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
We are back. Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Of course, the Game Time PA crew bringing you the weekly high school sports outlook and rundown. Brandon Stoneberg. I am Teddy Feinberg. We bring it to you every single week, 4 to 6 p.m. on our live stream on GameTimePA.com, 6 to 8 p.m. on WOYK 1350. We're bringing the noise once again. We're talking other high school sports. And we are going to start off talking to Lone Catholic Volleyball. Brandon, you were at this volleyball game the other night. Mm-hmm. This is a fantastic team. They've won 4 straight YAIAA championships. You talked about earlier in the week. The expectations are high. The coaching staff has this team on point. They're constantly bringing back talent to the program. Everything is always on target. What can you tell us about this game? And what do you like, or how do you feel about this team moving forward into the District 3 tournament and, of course, the state tournament?
I think as they have been for the past 5 years, they're a threat to win the district tournament for sure, and a threat to make a run in states. I mean, they've got a state medal, I think 2 or 3 years ago. They've got 3 or 4 district golds now, a couple of district silvers. I mean, they in the league tournament, people thought maybe there's a little hole in the armor. Maybe an undefeated Central team can give them a run. No, DeLone swept them. Maybe an upstart suburban team with all stars, Dumars and Landis and Buckingham can give them a run. No, they swept them. So I mean, they're not even having trouble with these games. I mean, they're sweeping through teams that are really, really good. They're playing quad A schools like Central and sweeping them easily. I mean, Central's a team that could also make a district run, or Suburban's a team that can make a district run, and DeLone's just handling them easily. But Aleppo kind of...
It's unbelievable.
I
thought Central had a really good team.
Central had a great team. I mean, Central had one of their best teams they've had in decades, and they couldn't even get one game off of DeLone. I mean, Coach Aleppo talked about how great volleyball is in the area right now. I mean, in the AA bracket, there's 12 teams. 6 of them are York Adams teams. Half the bracket. I mean, we could have an all York Adams Final Four.
It's crazy.
West York's in there, Susky's in there, Suburban's in there.
Awesome to see an all York Adams.
York Adams needs something on the map in districts this year because it's not happening in football. It's not happening in many other sports. But volleyball's ours, and they're playing really well. And then York Catholic's in the single A bracket. They can make some noise too, but I mean, 6 out of 12 teams in AA are York Adams teams.
When does the District 3 tournament get going?
I believe Saturday night is the play-in games, and then Tuesday is when stuff really starts hitting the fan.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Hanover's in there. I forgot about Hanover. Hanover, Suburban, West York, Susky, DeLone are all in there. West York.
Really strong field coming out of this area, and the fact that DeLone just continues to blow by that field is really impressive.
Yeah, it's impressive, and they could. The thing that Aleppo didn't like is that they might see. There's a very good chance that they see Suburban again in districts. They see a West York again in districts after seeing them in the tournament. It's hard to start beating these teams 2, 3, 4 times in the season. So if maybe these teams catch them. But I say they have a very, very, very good chance of winning districts and making a run in state.
Okay, well, we'll see how it goes down. We talked about Gus Minkin. I gave him a game ball last-second shout-out on segment 1. Amazing year. He won counties, he won districts, he won regionals. He was right there on the doorstep for the states. I know it's very disappointing to be right in the hunt, even be atop the leaderboard going into the final round, and then to fall short like that. It can hurt, but the reality is Gus had a fantastic year. He finished 5th overall. Joe Perini, Central York teammate, he finished 9th. So Central York had 2 top 10 teammates. I believe Perini was a transfer from York Catholic, if I'm not mistaken.
He was.
So they had a great team, 2 top 10 finishers, the PIAA championships. That was actually played at Heritage Hills this past week in York. Couple other guys, Eastern York's Kevin Crumbling and Eastern York's Andrew Davis. They finished 15th and 24th respectively. So they had top 25 finishes. We had some good golfers in the area this past year, really highlighted by that core group. But congrats to them, and again, congrats to Gus on a great year. And don't hang your head in a 5th place finish. There's nothing to be ashamed about finishing 5th overall in states, and there's nothing to be ashamed about after completely running the table locally and regionally. So he had a great year, and don't let that 1L hurt you. No.
Yeah, and he had some fun with it on Twitter. He was he put up some funny memes and gifs about him watching his ball sail out of bounds on the 9th hole for the 2nd straight day at states. And,
there you go.
And he had some fun, just like when your state hopes sail away with one shot or something like that, and had some funny moments.
Yeah, he had a couple tough holes there, and it hurt him.
Also committed to University of Minnesota, from what I've heard. So nice.
That's interesting.
That's a nice D1 school.
Yeah, that's a nice D1 school. I can't imagine them playing too much golf up there year-round.
No, I don't know how they play golf in Minnesota.
Well, they're taking a lot of road trips.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's always nice. But, hey, you know what? I'll tell you right now, great city, great town, great school. He'll have a friggin' blast. He'll play D1 sports. Good for him. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
I love Minneapolis. I've only been there once, but whatever. I want to go back. I want to go to Target Field.
That would be pretty cool. There's some solid golfers in this league overall. It was a solid year for us. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Central's entire roster was pretty dominant. Julianne Lee on the girls' side had a great
year.
She's only a sophomore.
Yeah, she's a great player.
A couple of good years ahead of her. Perini's only a sophomore. He's got a couple of good years ahead of him. I mean, I think Bricker Ibaka, one of those guys is a junior. One of those guys are coming back. Forgin's still pretty young, I believe. I mean, it's a great class of golfers, and it's a young class of golfers.
I agree. Yeah, no question.
So they're only going to keep getting better. So the level of talent in the golf area in this area is going to be continue to improve.
Nowhere to go but up. All right, we're going to keep talking boys soccer. Central York, they won first rounds of districts. Gettysburg, they won a YAIA championship. Both programs are very good. Gettysburg beat Central for the YAIA title. Gettysburg is undefeated. Their chances at a 2A title in your mind for a state standpoint?
Gettysburg.
Yes. Boys soccer.
Yeah. I mean, they start with East Pennsboro right now. They're playing East Pennsboro and Hershey. I think they win that one. They made a pretty good run last year. I think they have the talent to do it. I mean, they're the 1 seed, so pretty much everything's going to run through them.
They have definitely the talent to do it.
I mean, they're going to be pretty much favored in every game, so as long as they don't slip up, But soccer's a tough sport. You have a one bad game and give up 1 goal, and that's pretty much it. So I think they definitely have a chance. We have Susky and Burm in that same class, AA. They play each other though, so one York Adams team is going home tonight, but one's definitely moving on to the semifinals. I like it. I think Gettysburg can definitely make her. I think Susky can get there too. I think Susky is at least a semifinals team. If they can beat Burm tonight, I think it'd be pretty solid. I think Gettysburg has a pretty solid chance.
I do too. In terms of, and of course, Central York has a very good chance to make a run as well.
Central's a good. Their roster's just loaded too. They got Igor Gomes is on their team.
They're very good.
Wagner's on their team. They have a great coach in Leno. I mean, and Scott Hancock has a great. He's done a great job in Gettysburg. They're the class of the league for sure, and they could both come home with district at least pretty deep runs and qualify for states.
No question. Both those teams are great. I think I see them making deep runs and doing their thing. In terms of field hockey, games were postponed yesterday because of inclement weather. They all got moved today. We have a handful of local teams. Let's just run through the games tonight as we see them. Number 1, Penn Manor faces Cedar Crest. That is a 7 p.m. start at Warwick High School. Locally, Central York is playing at Penn Manor High School. They're the number 8 seed facing number 9 Elizabethtown. Number 4, Dallastown, kind of in their own backyard. They're hosting Manheim Township at 7 p.m. Now, not hosting them. That game's at Dover High School. Hershey facing Conestoga Valley. Conestoga. Thank you, Brandon. It's a 5 p.m. start at Lower Dolphin. I realize if I'm going through all these games, I'm going to butcher some names. Lower Dolphin is a number 2 seed. They're facing Wilson at Central Dolphin High School. Hempfield, number 7. They're facing New Oxford at Central Dolphin High School. That's an 8 p.m. start. Palmyra's facing Central Dolphin at 7 p.m. Cumberland Valley, Exeter Township. That's at Lower Dolphin High School. Again, all these games are tonight. 7 p.m. start. This is the District 3 Class 3A field hockey tournament bracket. In terms of Class 2A, number 1 Twin Valley is facing Camp Hill at 7:30. Burm Springs facing Skolko Valley. That's at 5 p.m. at Lower Dolphin. That's going to be an interesting one. Number 4 Manheim Township facing Susquehannock. Again, another local look. That's at Warwick High School. Susky answers as the number 13 seed, so they have a little bit of a steep climb there. Greenwood against West Perry. They're playing at Mechanicsburg High School at 5 p.m. Donegal, number 2 seed, playing number 15 Anvil Cleona at 7 p.m. That's at Penn Manor. Conrad Rottweiser against Ole Valley at 5:30. Gettysburg, number 3 seed, they're at Dover as well, facing East Pennsboro. That game's on their way. Gettysburg facing East Penn at 5 p.m. at Dover. Doubleheader followed by the Dallastown match at 7. So if you're interested in watching some field hockey tonight, feel free to get out to Dover. And Boiling Springs facing number 11 Northern York. That is at Mechanicsburg. So that is the lineup for tonight's field hockey. Obviously, Dallastown has had a great year. They're going to be right there at the end of the day in Class 3A. And, of course, we also know about Gettysburg. They're the number 3 seed. They won the YAIA last year. Dallastown won this year. Gettysburg won last year. They're looking to make a run in the 2A District 3 bracket. So we have a handful of local and regional teams taking the field there.
And Dallastown has a short ride to York Suburban play their game against Manheim Township. This is kind of where the York Adams ran into trouble last year, though. We had some teams look really, really good in the regular season against other York Adams teams, and then they kind of started playing some district and state talent and kind of struggled to really make any kind of noise in the postseason past league play. So can Dallastown and Gettysburg kind of carry the banner a little bit further for us this year?
The hope is they do. I mean, I think that both. I think that I know for a fact Dallastown's year ended very in disappointing fashion last year, and they have a very good team, 17-2 overall in the year. Gettysburg is 18-1. So, like you said, Brandon, hopefully they can carry the torch, make some moves.
Burm had a pretty solid record too, and still, even with their good record, they're not. They don't have the greatest seed. I mean, they went 16-3 and they got an 8 seed. It kind of shows the strength of schedule in the York Adams.
Yeah, I know Zach Miller is also going to be covering that game tonight. People that want to follow these games, we have a bunch of boots on the ground at I think we're covering about 4 or 5 games tonight, so you can follow us on GameTimePA _SC. That's our Twitter handle, at GameTimePA _SC on Twitter. You can catch all the action then and there.
Yeah, the tough one, we thought Burm could make some noise for us. They got a tough draw getting the 8 seed. They might play Twin Valley, number the 1 seed in the second round. That could hurt. Dallastown definitely has a chance to make a run. Dallastown and Gettysburg have our best chance to carry the banner for the York Adams and kind of make a run and get somewhere.
We'll see how it goes down. That's the run-through with the local sports scene, folks. We'll be back here shortly. We're going to be wrapping out the program at 6 p.m. If you're watching on our live stream, 8 p.m. on WOYK Game Day with Game Time PA.
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK honors the Shipley Energy Student Athlete of the Week.
This week's Shipley Energy Football Student Athlete of the Week is Chase Carlisle from Kennardale. The running back rumbled for 186 yards on 28 carries while scoring 2 touchdowns as the Rams won their second straight contest. This week's Shipley Energy Girls Student Athlete of the Week is Mia Rexroth from Dallastown Soccer. She scored the overtime game winner in the Wildcats' 3-2 win over Dover on Tuesday, then cashed in another goal in the team's 3-2 championship game victory over Dover on Thursday. And this week's Shipley Energy Boys Student Athlete of the Week is Gus Minkin from Central York Golf. Minkin's 69 won Monday's regional tournament at Oaks Golf Club. Minkin is 3 for 3 with gold medals. He has won 3 gold medals over the last 3 weeks.
Get your home ready for fall and winter and sign up for the Shipley Energy Protection Plan. For more information, visit ShipleyEnergy.com.
Did you know that Shipley Energy can take care of all your energy needs? From heating oil and propane to providing your home with electricity and natural gas. We also provide heating and air conditioning service and installation. All of your energy needs are under one roof at Shipley Energy. To learn more, visit ShipleyEnergy.com. Call 855-4-SHIPLEY and don't forget to ask about our $100 rebate. Shipley Energy. Energy for life.
Hi, this is Eric Depew, head coach of the York Catholic Fighting Irish. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, first in York, first in sports.
Welcome back to Game Time. Every week.
It's Game Day with Game Time PA.
Every week. One time I mess that up. Every time.
Yeah, no, you're consistent in that area.
We talked a little soccer before the break. Give you guys some quick scoring updates. Gettysburg, the 1 seed in AA boys soccer, is up 2-0 on East Pennsboro in the first half. In Class A, York Catholic, the 2 seed, struggling to put away Wyomissing, the 7 seed, tied 2-2 in the second half. That one's going to come down to the wire. Again, follow along Game Time PA online to see how that one concludes. Teddy, we got some playoff action. We talked a little bit of football. Definitely some big games. What games do we have live stream this week? We have
where we have Northeastern against Northeastern and Southwestern. That's an absolutely huge game. I'm really close to Brandon right now. That's an absolutely huge football game again. Delone is also on our live stream. Yes, they're facing York County Tech. Delone looks to continue their winning ways, but the marquee game, one of the marquee games in our area, definitely Southwestern Northeastern at the Corral. So that will be an absolutely huge football game for both teams. Again, 7:30 p.m. start game day. You can catch it on GameTimePA.com. You go to our live stream menu. You can check out all the live stream games, and that game is huge.
That game is huge, and it's going to be, like we said earlier, it's going to be kind of a matchup between Northeastern's strong defense against Southwestern's really strong, potent offense. It's really just it's Shannon Valencia and that run game. Northeastern has a pretty balanced offense, but it hasn't played well recently. They put up 30 at Spring Grove though, so maybe they get back on the right track. I'm trying to pull up some district rankings here quickly.
Well, bottom line is this. I mean, I think that you look at these football games, that's clearly a huge one. There's no denying that. I definitely want to see just how things unfold in that contest, and, I mean, that's the highlight. I honestly have my eyes on Susky Kennerdale just because I'm scrap iron. and I just want to see those two teams continue to get better and better. I think that anytime you want to see Dallastown take the field again, although they're facing a Central York team that's a little down and out, but Dallastown, anytime you're looking to remain undefeated, and of course, I mean, in my mind, Hanover-Biglerville is huge, and I think the fact that that game is I think Biglerville can give them a run for their money. I really do. Biglerville, to me, and I could be way off in this analysis, but they seem like a very emotional team. Mm-hmm. They have an emotional coach. They really get behind. They're going to be ready for that football game, so I really have that one circled.
And there's a really good chance that we have 2 undefeateds left right now. There's a good chance neither one of those guys are undefeated, following the regular season. Because Hanover has Biglerville, DeLone, Dallastown, maybe not Central, but Redline next week in a rivalry game, a really good offense. Maybe Redline gives them a scare.
Yes, I agree. Redline could definitely give them a scare for sure. So you're talking about Dallastown here.
Speaking of Dallastown, they're 8-0, undefeated, but they have the worst strength of schedule in all of Quad A right now.
That's not good.
No, I mean, and it's not even close. I mean, they're far and away the worst schedule. It's not good. I know they're replacing Lancaster Catholic with Hempfield starting next year, which is going to be a huge get for them. Hempfield's one of the biggest Quad A schools.
Right.
But Dallastown's 8-0, undefeated. They're 7th in Quad A. So right now they'd be playing Central Dauphin East. They would host one. Southwestern on the other end. They're 6-2, but they'd be on the road against Manheim Township if the playoffs started right now. So one is Dallastown gets a home game if it started right now. Southwestern goes on the road. Redline is in 13th right now. They'd be playing Hempfield in the first round. That's not a good road trip.
No.
So our Quad A school is not looking so bright. And AAA Northeastern's at 3rd right now. They'd be hosting Spring Grove, but Spring Grove is a tough schedule the rest of the way, so maybe they fall out. And maybe Northeastern gets a Shippensburg or a Greencastle right there. Suburban right now, they're moving up. They'd be playing Manheim Central on the road if it started today. Northern York would host a playoff game right now if it started today.
Not surprising there.
And they have a great home crowd. That could be huge for them. Some of the other teams are pretty much falling out, so that could be pretty much it for us. Suburban, Northeastern, Northern, and AAA. Dallastown, Southwestern, Redline, and Quad A. Double A is another one where the York Islands will host a game. Hanover undefeated. They're in 3rd right now. The two teams ahead of them, Berks Catholic and Wyomissing, play each other. So maybe, I believe they play each other week 10. So they play each other, and one of them falls. Maybe Hanover jumps up to 2. Hanover's kind of in the same spot right now that Bern was in last year. Bern was also undefeated at this point and kind of waiting to jump in wherever Berks Catholic or Wyomissing slipped up. So Hanover could be a 2 or 3 seed. Right now, they could get it's a very good chance they host the rematch of Biglerville, which would be interesting to see.
That would be really interesting to see.
Because Biglerville is right now at 7th, depending on maybe a loss and a win, or a win then a loss. Depending on what happens to Biglerville, they're going to be hanging around that 6, 7, 8 spot. Hanover's going to be in that 2, 3, 4 spot. So maybe we see a second round of Hanover-Biglerville in the district playoffs.
I'm going to be interested to see it. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to this Friday's game. I think that people are kind of, including Brandon, quite frankly, is kind of blowing off Biglerville. It's kind of grinding my gears.
There you go. Now we got what's grinding Teddy's gears.
Kind of grinding it up a little.
I just haven't been all that impressed with Biglerville. Like I said, they just don't have any. Their best moments have been when they came close to winning games.
And I think you bring up a very good point, and this is the key to consider. And I think that you brought up the key. Do they really have the defensive firepower to hold down that attack? And it's a tall order for anyone, right? I mean, that's tricky. That's a tricky one.
Kyle Kraut and Ben Hurd are the 2 quarterbacks in this game, 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league right now. Statistical.
Brandon.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I cannot
Game
talk.
day with GameDay.
Yeah, I can't talk. The run offenses, Biglerville, Hanover both have 2 of the top run offenses right now. Hanover's defense has been better than Biglerville as well. Bermudian Springs, though, right there, they're 4-4. Record-wise, they're tied with the 8th team. They're 11th. They're tied with the 8th team, only a couple percentage points behind. So Berm makes a win or 2 here. Berm probably has to win out, but they win out. All of a sudden, Berm's in the playoffs playing Berks Catholic or Wyomissing.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'd love to see them get in. Again, they would face a great opponent.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see him get in there.
In Single A, York Catholic is in right now. Single A is weird. Camp Hill's 8-0 at number 1, and then you have 3-5, 3-5, 4-4, 3-5, 3-5.
Very strange.
So Camp Hill's the only. Basically, I mean, they won last year against a much better field than this. It's basically wrapped up that Camp Hill wins again. But if you're in Single A, there are only 4 teams make it. You win one game, all of a sudden you're in the championship game, and all of a sudden it's any given Friday at that point.
100%.
So York Catholic right now is a 3 seed. They'd be playing Steel High. DeLone is a 5 seed. They're not too far out. DeLone probably has to win out against York County Tech, and Hanover actually would be a good win for them right now against a boost up in class. both those wins actually be good because York County Tech is a Quad A school technically. So they get that one, and then they get a win over AA. So DeLone's not out of it yet. Win some games here, and you can get back into it too.
No question. They kind of came on last week. Of course, they topped the Fairfield team that's had its struggles. But, I mean, they, like you said, they're not out of it, and they have to be feeling good about themselves.
They have to be feeling good about themselves, and DeLone and Byrne, both of them only percentage points out. So, like we said, I think we have 7 teams in the district right now, 2 or 3 of them hosting playoff games. So we'll see how it gets. We'll see how it does. We'll see how much further after Week 10 the York Adams teams can play. It doesn't look great, maybe Week 11, Week 12, but we'll see if somebody can make a run.
Yep, exactly. No, I completely agree with you, and it's nice to see the playoff picture kind of coming into focus, and I think we have some solid teams in this area. We'll see how they do in the post. That's really where York Adams always saying we want more respect. Well, you know what? Go out and earn it. They have to go out. And they have to play well in those postseason games. The teams that do get in, they have to get W's under their belt. So we'll see how it goes down.
We will. We'll come back after the break for one more segment.
Let's do it.
All right. We'll see you guys after the break.
Payne doesn't take Sunday off. Neither do we. We're open weekdays 8 to 8 and weekends 9 to 6. Just walk into WellSpan Urgent Orthopedics, 2319 South George Street in York, across from the Apple Hill Health Campus. Visit wellspan.org/urgent orthopedics today.
It's going to be another epic year in high school football, and Sports Radio 1350 is ready for kickoff. Tune in every Friday night this fall for the high school football game of the week, presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Plus, go to WOYK1350.com for a full breakdown of the teams and the players of the 2015 York Adams League. The high school football game of the week, presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Catch the action every Friday night on Sports Radio 1350, online at WOYK1350.com, or download the WOYK mobile app.
The puck drops here.
Wellman, the shot, score!
Sports Radio 1350, your home for Hershey Bears hockey.
Casey Wellman has won it in overtime for Hershey.
And the Washington Capitals.
Here in a shot, they score!
Defending the Den and rocking the red all season. Catch the Bears and the Caps on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
York Revolution Baseball plays here. Catch all 140 games of accurate reporting.
Actually, is that Travis Scott behind the plate now?
It's been Travis Scott behind the plate all night.
Are you serious? Not on the lineup sheet, it's not.
Unbiased observation.
Oh, there's a big flash.
But they just stand there.
Yeah.
Not the players, to be honest.
Maybe they can't see that either.
And mature professional commentary.
It's nice to have you back, Ray. You were away, yesterday. Now whines, in the pitch. It is outside. Who's listening in the clubhouse tonight, meow?
My money's on Rami Lewis. Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
Revs Baseball, all season on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hi, I'm West York football coach Jeremy Jones. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Welcome back to Game Day of GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. We're back in the house. We have a few minutes here before we wrap up. So we did some high school football. We just always like to keep you guys informed about some other stuff that's going on in the area, some big college football news locally. Pitt,
Temple's top 20, or the Temple's top 25.
Pitt. I was gonna bury a lead there and wait for Temple, but yeah, Temple is ranked for the first time since the 1970s. They are hosting College Game Day for the first time ever. Biggest game in program history is this Saturday night, 8 o'clock ABC primetime. The Golden Domers, Notre Dame, coming to Philly.
Brandon's a Temple alum.
Temple alum, huge fan. I'm shaking with excitement waiting for this one. I hope they upset Notre Dame and shock everyone. A lot of the talking heads and experts aren't giving Temple much of a chance. They're in the American, they're the underdog, they're a small school. They almost got kicked out of D1 10 years ago. I get it. They're playing Notre Dame and touchdown Jesus. I get it. But they're in Philly. There's something about this season and this Temple team that's maybe a little bit different.
Who cares? The fact that they're even on the national radar at this point is a big deal. The fact they're playing an awesome team, And I know that you really are very hopeful of a W here. College Game Day's there. I mean, everything's falling
College Game
apart.
Day's there. I mean, from a program that almost got kicked out of D1 10 years ago to now being, respected and hosting College Game Day at Independence Hall in front of where they signed the Declaration of Independence, next to the Liberty Bell on Saturday night on prime time football. It's gonna be a big one. Now, I mean, there's always there's always the chance that you playing on the big stage for the first time against a team that's been there every week of the season. You come out there and lay an egg. Maybe we lose 56-0. There's also the chance that our defense is nationally one of the best in the nation. Maybe they keep us in the game, and you let an underdog hang around for a little bit, and we'll see what happens.
Well, what is your going into the game? I know you think the team. You're Temple through and through. So you think the team's going to win. You believe they're going to dominate. But
I don't know if they're going to.
How do you see really when you really look at it?
Vegas has Notre Dame favored by 10 points. I think that's.
You think Temple will cover?
I think that's pretty solid. I think Temple's defense is very underrated. I don't think Temple's defense is going to get blown out really by anyone. I'm going to knock on wood though, but I think our offense has struggled at times. And Temple's had the issue where they kind of sleepwalk through the first 2 or 3 quarters while their defense does all the work, and then we're only down 3. Now our offense starts working. You can't do that against Notre Dame. You can't. If our defense, if they play by that same game plan, like let the defense win the first 3 quarters and the offense takes over in the fourth, the defense is going to be so worn down against a Notre Dame instead of an East Carolina or a Tulsa.
No question.
That that game's not going to be close enough to win. So even if they don't win, Temple's playing with house money, and that's how they have to kind of come out. You have nothing to lose. The pressure's on Notre Dame. Notre Dame can't lose with Temple. They're Notre Dame. Temple, you win. It's the greatest thing in your program's history. If you lose, you were underdogs against a Notre Dame team, and you're still undefeated. You're still first in the
they're still hanging.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had some great wins this year. They've had a great year. So it's been a great season for them. And now they face Notre Dame and 10-point dog. I'm taking Temple to cover.
I think it'll be closer than people expect. I know a lot of ESPN people are saying it's going to be a blowout and this isn't a chance. And Notre Dame gets caught looking ahead because they got Stanford in a few weeks, and that's a huge game for them that they're trying to get back to it. But I don't know. Temple wins. They knock off the number 9 team in the country. They're still undefeated. Maybe they're a top 15, top 17 team next week when Monday we wake up. The other team, we have 2 other big teams. But
of course, Penn State hosts Illinois at noon.
Illinois.
And Redland Little League's being honored before the game, so
That's
we have some
cool.
local ties there. They've been honored in the entire year. These kids are getting treated like Joanna Cespedes, but they're being honored again.
That's also pretty cool. Pitt is also ranked. They played tonight against UNC in a very underrated big game ACC
big
matchup.
game for sure.
Pitt's had his moments this year. So who would have thought that out of the 3 D1 football schools in PA, 2 would be ranked, and Penn State wasn't one of them.
It's unbelievable, really. Yeah.
And Penn State's not. They only have 1 loss, but it's to Temple. So at this point, Penn State fans might be cheering for Temple because the better Temple looks, the better that loss looks at Temple. Really.
It's a fair point. Maybe some of them are.
Yeah, maybe. Anything else you got before we head out, Teddy? I'm gonna go have some steak dinner and watch some football. Actually,
no, there's some lasagna back at the office, and I'm getting ready to hit that hard.
Let's do it. We're gonna go eat. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Good night. Go Temple.
See you.
First in York, first in sports. Your only local sports station. The new Sports Radio 1350. WOYK, York, Pennsylvania.